Tonight on the Black Channel, a look back over the life of O.J. Simpson, and we ask the question, exactly what does it take for a black man to be considered innocent? The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting super fortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, okay, this is one of these programs where everybody's got to get brought up to speed, particularly for those of us who are older. And by older, I mean if you were a teenager in the 1990s, not the 1980s. If you were a teenager in the 1990s, just understand it's been 30 years. What? Folks, it's been 30 years since the Rodney King beating and the uprisings that followed. It's been over 30 years. It's been over 30 years since Gulf War I. It's been over 30 years since Tupac and Biggie. Definitely Tupac. It's been over 30 years, y'all, so I want you to understand. Since Tupac and Biggie and the West Coast rivalry, it's been 30 years, man. 3 decades. So for those of us who's like, oh boy, yeah, you find out, we getting old up in here. It's like, yeah, that's not even fresh news. We're way past, O.J. Simpson 10 years later, Tupac and Biggie 10 years later. It's now O.J. Simpson and Tupac and Biggie 30 years later. 30 years. So when we discuss Orenthal James Simpson, you got to understand that half my audience wasn't even born when O.J. Simpson was put on trial, much less when he was playing in the NFL. They may find him in the Naked Gun movies if they still play those. But half my audience wasn't even born yet. Or the ones who were, they were in elementary school. They had no idea what the O.J. Simpson was. So for those of us who were there, you got to understand. We got to get them caught up, because understand, we all going on half a century older. A lot of these younger folk here have no idea what the hell we talking about. It's only in retrospect. So the case as it was, we have to put this in its proper historical context. Please remember that O.J. Simpson was after the LA riots. Now, we got to take you back there first. For those of you who were not alive and don't remember, you weren't there for Gulf War I or whatever the case may be, I want you to understand what happened here. Los Angeles, California, you had an entire nation telling us that NWA and the rest of them was just a bunch of crazy niggas sitting up here stirring up trouble because those things didn't happen. They were telling the world that that kind of stuff didn't occur anywhere in America. Nowhere would that occur. And yet, it just so happened by happenstance, when Rodney King got pulled over by the police, they yanked him out of the car and started doing some curbside justice. When they told us that that kind of thing doesn't happen. Okay, they also told us that, and if such a thing did happen, why the court system would take care of it. Well, the court system took care of something, all right. They took care of the cops who damn near killed Rodney King. And said, what crime? Why, them beating him with their batons, why, that's police work. That's what they said. got him on video, a whole squad of jackals beating him with their batons, and they said that that was police work in Los Angeles. That's police work. And then got the court system to back it up. That is systemic racism. When you can get together in a group under color of law, violate the rights of a citizen, whether he was committing a crime that night or not, the bottom line is, by the way, you had the situation under control. There was no reason to be beating him. We were making a point. We're making a point. When they grabbed that man, they had a whole system that backed them up. They had an entire system that was backing them up. That's the part that everybody here, we need to make sure we understand. The system got behind them. The system said, yes, they are correct. This is police work. So that is what we were coming into. That was the lens through which all this was happening. I lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, and we were saying justice for Rodney King as teenagers in my high school. Because we saw what happened and we realized, by the way, that's not police work, that's white supremacy. So shortly after that, y'all got to understand that after the cops were acquitted for beating Rodney King, LA lit up. LA lit up. And we were the vanguard that caused that to occur. And for the first time in modern history at that point, they had the full backing of the society. We weren't condemning a damn thing. LA was allowed to go up because LA had the support, the street support of the people around the country. It wasn't the days of Bull Connor where the police had the support. The revolutionaries in the streets had the support. That was new. You couldn't demonize them the way you had before. That wasn't going to work. Yes, that was the cumulative effect of that and Latasha Harlan. There was a lot going on there. And when they took to the streets, they had the support of the people. That was new. That was different. And so all of a sudden, it flipped a win for white supremacy into a massive loss. It flipped what was supposed to be a win for white supremacy into a huge loss. And the folks in Los Angeles talked about that, but we talked about that around the country, that they're going to try to get even for that. They going to try to get even for that. That was a huge L. And they said, damn it, we going to have to do something, but beating niggas in the street is not going to work. And that's when O.J. Simpson showed up. O.J. Simpson, and it was the most cartoonish thing in the world to accuse him of being, quote, the crime of the century. You mean this was bigger than killing JFK? This was bigger than the Lufthansa heist? This was bigger than the Valentine's Day massacre? Are you serious? Trial of the century. This was bigger than the Lindbergh baby? A washed up old been retired NFL player who the world had not been talking about or discussing before then. And then all of a sudden, the media around the country declared that this was the most significant trial of the century. They were calling it the trial of the century before he'd even gotten to court. So that's what tells you that this was fabricated by the media. Because they wanted to sit up here and say, okay, we can't lynch all you niggas, we'll just lynch one. And that's how Orenthal James Simpson found himself in court. And let's be very clear, now with the hindsight of history, had this case happened today, we would be laughing that damn thing out of court with the clown car of so-called evidence that they brought up, which was ridiculous. But they figured they had done it with Rodney King. We can have a redo. If we did it with Rodney King, we can have a redo. The only difference this time was they had a black man who could halfway pay for a proper defense for himself. And let us be clear, he needed that because the full weight and villainy of the LA prosecutor's office came down on him. They were determined to get a win no matter what the evidence said, no matter how unlikely. We're going to review a few things, and I'm going to do this tonight for those of you who are younger. If you want to know why it is that you're going to hear a bunch of suspected white supremacists and confirmed white supremacists sit up here and claim that O.J. Simpson was guilty, I want to put this in its proper modern day context to you. Number one, you're claiming that this man committed these crimes on the way to well, first of all, that he was concerned about a woman he wasn't even with. That's the first thing. Nicole Brown Simpson used to be his wife, and let's be very clear, she lived in a very expensive neighborhood, but he wasn't going to have to pay your lifestyle forever. Them kids getting a little bit older, and he will not have to pay your lifestyle forever. So she had been out there hustling them draws. Okay. I'm not talking out of turn here. Nicole Brown Simpson had been entertaining the company of various men, and O.J. Simpson was not cool with her bringing that behavior in the damn house that he was paying for in front of his kids. The famous 911 call that she supposedly made. And he was like, hey, you in front of my kids with this hoeing. You in front of my kids with this. That was the issue. So much for not being a proper father. He was like, hey, you in front of my kids with all this. That woman was sitting up here calling this man wanting money and every damn thing else. Yes, with her drug problem. With an active drug problem. Got pictures of her with dudes all over the place. Now, while it is not clear what her relationship to Ron Goldman was, and very clearly, at best, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, the bottom line is, fellas, you got to watch out with the chicks you hang out with. Because if she's telling herself that chivalry will protect her when her criminal friends come around, that's the issue. The kids were in the house. Mama wasn't fighting and arguing with nobody. But it was obviously somebody came up in there that she knew. So O.J. Simpson wasn't with the woman. He doing his thing. And they're claiming that just one evening out of nowhere, he decides to go over there to her house, unprovoked, kill the woman, and try to make it to the airport in enough time to get on a plane. What the hell? Let me tell y'all, I have driven to LAX, 7 or 8 times in my life? Anybody who's had to hit the freeway to go to LAX knows that ain't no easy. You don't wait till the last damn minute to go to the airport in Los Angeles. Not unless you just want to miss your flight. Los Angeles is not a place where you try to speed your way to the damn airport. That ain't the place to do it. You don't play no games with LAX. The freeway in LA is no joke. None whatsoever. But they telling you that O.J. Simpson, all the way from Brentwood, O.J. Simpson gonna cut it at the last minute. He gonna cut it down to the last minute. So you have to believe that too. That he took his clothes with him, allegedly. Although they're not sure about that. But maybe he took some of them and didn't take others. What? What kind of haphazard planning is this? So he goes over there to the place and he's killing the wife, and either Ron Goldman is there or Ron Goldman walks up and Ron Goldman is in the middle of it too. Ron Goldman was not a little dude. This guy was a model. He went to the gym. He was in very good physical condition. He was a tall fella. He was like, 6'3"? Ron Goldman was not no little dude. Ron Goldman was not damn me Tom Cruise. No offense to Tom. Ron Goldman was a big dude. He wasn't some little female. And you telling me that a young man in his prime, all O.J. Simpson was able to handle him? First of all, if you did walk up and you see some dude sitting up here stabbing chick, ain't you gonna run? Hey, he's got a knife. They saying that didn't happen. Okay, so all of a sudden we got damn me Neo from the Matrix. He's throwing the knife and he's slashing people and he's picking it back up again and chalky walk. What the hell is this? Ron Goldman had defensive wounds all over himself. O.J. Simpson had one errant cut. One. Now, if somebody was fighting for their damn life, are you telling me that O.J. Simpson was armored? Because that's what you would be telling us. Ron Goldman got cuts all over him. O.J. Simpson only has one minor abrasion. And O.J. Simpson doesn't have a scratch on him otherwise. This is the super nigga story. Y'all know full damn well you couldn't do nothing like that unless you had two people with you. You would have needed two people. One to grab Nicole and keep her quiet. The other one, you probably needed two or three people because you're going to need one to grab her, keep her quiet if you're trying to kill her at the same time. And you're going to need a couple of men to grab Ron Goldman and quietly kill him. You killed two people quietly. One middle-aged white female and one prime-age white male with an athletic build. And you killed both of them quiet as kept silently? Tell me the scenario that makes sense for one man to do by himself. Silently. No, you got to have help. And it was not convenient to point the finger at anybody else because they wanted to sit up here and thumb their nose, thumb us in the eye as black people in general. So you believe that O.J. Simpson just got up after a couple of years and not worrying about anything right there? He's so worried about his ex-wife, we're going to go kill her on the way to the damn airport because that's convenience. So in other words, nobody will find her for a few days. And of course, why would anybody suspect me? Both of them got killed quiet as kept. O.J. doesn't have but one scratch on him. Don't worry, makes perfect sense. That's what they expect you to believe. Right there. Then the trial comes up. And what happened was during the trial, O.J. Simpson's defense team did something that's supposed to happen every damn where, but it doesn't. You go off and go get you the damn public defender. All that bastard's trying to do is hurry up and get you to take a plea bargain. Here, take this life sentence. I gotta go play golf. O.J. Simpson actually had a real defense team. And they were sitting up here showing footage on TV, showing the damn investigators walking through the damn crime scene, walking through the blood and saying, hey, that's proper police work? Because they've been treating every other black male who's been through the court system, they telling you, oh, well, that's proper police work. That is the very definition of a contaminated crime scene, but when they handed you your sentence, they said that was proper police work. OJ actually had some lawyers who weren't going to be a damn fool and say, hey, that's not proper police work. That is not proper police work at all. If you all agree that the O.J. Simpson was found innocent because he actually had competent defense, give me the scales of justice emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. It's over 3,500 people in here live in just the first 20 minutes. We got a lot of ground to cover, so I hope I'm allowed to cover it tonight. But if you agree that O.J. Simpson was found innocent, not because he had slick lawyers, but because he actually had proper legal representation, give me the scales of justice emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. They have been allowed to get away with flirting and skirting the law for so long that they said, oh, well, this is just the way we do things. They're showing all these people walking through the crime scene and telling you everything's fine, everything's great, nothing out of the ordinary here. He actually had lawyers who asked real damn questions for a change. And what that did was it simply highlighted the reason why so many black folk and black men in particular end up in prison. Because if you get the best justice in America that money can buy, and if you're black, you only have a snowball's chance if you can afford something, but at least they're asking questions. So you couldn't just railroad the man. They were turning over every stone. They were pulling over every leaf. They were digging up every ounce of evidence they could possibly get. They didn't call it a dream team because they were fantastic attorneys, even though Johnny Cochran was spectacular. It was the dream team because these were attorneys who actually did their damn job. And you're not used to seeing a black man have a legal team. It's supposed to be a paperwork process when we walk into court. When black folk walk into court, if the suspect is white and the victim is black, it's supposed to be a paperwork process. Stamp that, Carolyn Bryant, your black ass dead, we all going home. And if the suspect is black and the victim is white, once again, it's supposed to be a paperwork process. We're supposed to just walk in, stamp it, and send your ass to jail for life or the electric chair, no questions asked. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be. When you have a situation like this occur, where a black man walks in there and they have accused you, you're supposed to be just the most likely suspect. Oh, well, most likely suspect, you're going to take this most likely life sentence. OJ's team went in there and asked questions that everybody was supposed to be asking. Now, what I want to do for you all here first is I want to show you something first. I want to show for you everyone's favorite suspected white supremacist newscaster, Megyn Kelly, a woman who should be smart enough to realize to shut the hell up, but unfortunately she's not. She should be smart enough to recognize to just shut her mouth, and she doesn't. But what she does do is she does perfectly illustrate that these folks are still holding a grudge. They are still upset after all this time, and you'll hear why.
Prosecution that Nicole Brown Simpson was nearly decapitated. So brutal was the attack that she suffered. OJ's lawyer, Johnny Cochran, of course, famously, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. You know the phrase, thanks to him, saying the gloves found at the scene could not possibly have been OJ's because when OJ was asked by the prosecution, Chris Darden, Marsha's co-counsel, to try them on, they did not fit. And he made a showing of it. They had been treated, they had been wet, and then they had dried. And
so you see, Megyn Kelly is upset with black folk. She names Chris Darden. You know, the black dude that the prosecution chose to help Marsha Clark. So we didn't make this a racial issue. They made it a racial issue, and they still are. They made it a racial issue, and they still are. They're still smarting over it and mad to this day.
Gotten smaller. We've heard the lawyers talk about it since as a complete blunder by the prosecution. The judge, Lance Ito, another name known coast to...
Okay, let's go ahead and deal with that real quick too. Yeah, leather can shrink, but we've had a bunch of us who have leather garments and never had that problem either. By the way, I think a number of us have had leather garments, ladies with leather purses and whatnot. That shrinking thing, all of a sudden that became scientific bona fides. So, by the way, that should be taken with a grain of salt, quite honestly. But we're white, we say so all right.
Coast witnesses, Cato Kalin. Still, most Americans who are Gen Xers at least know these names. In the end, OJ was found not guilty in 1995 in the criminal case in a decision.
Now, did you all hear that?
Chris Darden, Marsha's co-counsel, to try them on. They did not fit. and he made a showing of it. They had been treated, they had been wet, and then they had dried and gotten smaller. We've heard the lawyers talk about it since as a complete blunder by the prosecution. The judge, Lance Ito, another name known coast to coast. Witnesses, Cato Kalin. Still, most Americans who are Gen Xers at least know these names.
Why didn't she mention Detective Mark Ferman? What? Now remember, Megyn Kelly is a lawyer, at least she was. While she was rattling off that list of names right now, why didn't she mention the most famous witness of the case? Police Detective Mark Ferman. Why didn't she mention him? Why not? Well, I'll show you all why, or at least one reason I suspect here. Why, take a look at Fox News' website. Well, take a look on your screen, everyone. Take a look at Fox News' website. Why, Mark Ferman is a former LAPD detective and currently serves as a forensic and crime scene expert for Fox News Channel. Oh, shucky ducky. Well, that kind of explains why Megyn doesn't want to mention the most famous witness of the case, Detective Mark Ferman. She mentioned everybody else. Why would you not mention Mark Ferman?
In the end, O.J. was found not guilty in 1995 in the criminal case in a decision that split the country right in two. Another moment where most of us remember we were when the verdict came down.
Now, Megyn Kelly doesn't talk about the cops who beat Rodney King in that verdict. She doesn't say anything about that. She's not outraged about that. She doesn't put that in its proper context. Nope. Let's just talk about O.J. Simpson.
Yours truly, I had just begun my career as a lawyer. I watched the trial as a third-year law student, along with everybody else. We were riveted. We would go to our classes in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we'd gather in the student center and watch it on one of those old fat TVs that we were all watching in 1994 before they all got slimlined.
Okay, so she said that she was a third-year law student and she was watching there in her classes. Well, aren't law students supposed to be more tilted towards the defense attorneys, not the prosecutors? Because most likely if you go into private practice for a firm, you'll be going for a criminal defense firm. You won't be working for the prosecutor's office. And yet she's telling you that they were all law students on the side of the prosecution? What law students go to school to figure out how to be better prosecutors?
And then in 1995 came down the verdict, and we all gathered. This time for me, it was in my law firm. All white lawyers, one black receptionist. And they said, not guilty.
Now think about that for a few moments. You want to hear about racism, ma'am? Your law firm, your law school, that was an exercise in racism, and you just admitted it. All the lawyers are white. There's only one black person in the room, your receptionist. A person with no legal credentials whatsoever, so all the important people are white. The receptionist who answers to all of you is black. Yeah, no racial background for Megyn Kelly.
This time for me, it was in my law firm. All white lawyers, one black receptionist. And they said, not guilty. And the white lawyers stood there stunned. And our black receptionist, who we all loved, was cheering.
Nigga, please.
Y'all hear how she talks about it like the pet? All the white lawyers were stunned. I thought you all were law school students or lawyers. The white lawyers were stunned. Our black receptionist, who we all loved, oh, Aunt Jemima, she was cheering. How is it that she could be cheering and you all were sitting up here upset about it? Shouldn't they have seen Johnny Cochran's defense? Shouldn't they all have been like, damn, Johnny Cochran is good. We have to take notice of that. I want to learn how to do that so I can implement that into my legal strategies when I'm out in the courtroom. Why is it that that's not the way they saw that? What kind of lawyers are you that you watch Johnny Cochran put on a master class of criminal legal defense, and your response was not, wow, he's a fantastic lawyer. Your response is, oh man, it's a terrible day. What kind of legal professionals are you? Aren't they supposed to be on the side of a fellow lawyer? Especially when you know for a fact that the American court system is outrageously biased against black men. It's like, oh no, you're like, hey, Johnny Cochran interrupted our lynching. There was supposed to be a lynching going on, and he interrupted the lynching. So all of a sudden, it's not about professionalism. It's not about the law. It's not about being colleagues. All of a sudden, it's about white supremacy. Megyn Kelly, blonde-headed, blue-eyed, even if now she has to buy it in a bottle, but blonde-headed, blue-eyed. And she was saying to herself, I'll be damned. I'm a white woman. All I should have to do is point the finger at one of you black males, and that's supposed to be the end of that. How the hell is it my finger has lost its mojo?
And it was just a microcosm of what was happening all across America at that moment. And one of those moments in which people started to get it, that there was a massive distrust of police, especially within the black community, especially in LA, that the white community wasn't feeling.
That the white community wasn't feeling because they get justice when they walk into a courtroom. When they get found guilty, they're most likely guilty. Let me explain to y'all something. Megyn Kelly is a piece of crap liar. Let me explain to you here why. Anybody in here who has hired a white lawyer for legal defense, if there is a jury for a white defendant, if the defendant, the suspect is white, a white defense lawyer wants to have black people on the jury. This is in every courtroom in every jurisdiction in America. If you are a white criminal defense attorney, you know that if you got black folk on the jury, they're always trying to get black folk on the jury because lawyers everywhere understand that black people are more suspicious of the police and the court system based on our experience. Not based on what we saw on TV, not based on what we heard on the radio, not based on what we read in the comic book. We are more suspicious of the police and the court system based on our daily lives. Every black person got a story about the police and the court system, the police and the court system violating their rights. And every attorney who walks in there knows we do. And any defense attorney who's had to defend more than 5 black people watches the court system violate our rights on a regular basis. Megyn Kelly, if she was a law student, her and all the lawyers there with her already know this. What the hell kind of lawyer would she be if it was time to pick a jury and she's picking all white folk when all the lawyers are like, you get more black folk on there because they're more likely to swing our way. Prosecutors routinely try to keep black people off of juries. Now, if all of us in here know this, how the hell could 60-year-old Megyn Kelly not know this when she was in law school, when everybody knew this back in the 50s? It has always been the practice of prosecutors to keep black people off the jury. Do not let black people on the jury. They are more suspicious of police and prosecutors. They're more likely to listen to the evidence. They won't just go along with whatever the court system says. The police say the guy is guilty. Oh, well, go along with it. Black people are far less likely to rubber stamp the police. How the hell is it she got a law license and talking about, well, this is just strange that happens. This is textbook. This is every day. And yet she's talking to you slap stone cold crazy. And supposedly they're all lawyers. What lawyer doesn't know that? A lawyer who's saying, by the way, yeah, that's right, except when the verdict don't come down the way we want.
And that this evidence and this case and these accusations strong as they were being viewed very differently by citizens across this country.
The evidence in the case, quote, strong as it was. So understand, here we are 30 years later with Megyn Kelly rewriting history, plagiarizing and rewriting history and fictionalizing it. Don't worry, I got something for that too.
OJ would later be sued by Ron Goldman's family for wrongful death in a civil court where the burden of proof is lower than it is in a criminal court. And indeed, that jury found him liable for the double murders in 1997. That was not the end of OJ's legal troubles.
Now, did you all get that? Did you all get that? Now, let's be very, very clear. OJ Simpson they ordered him to pay $33 million. When was the last time that a black person was able to sue a white person and get a verdict for $33 million? When's the last time any of us were able to get a verdict for $33 million when we sued somebody civilly? I've had a number of lawsuits. I've never come anywhere in the zip code of 33 million. That's white supremacy right there. You and me can't get a verdict like that. We can't get enough lawyers. We can't have enough motions. We can't suffer enough. We can't have enough injury done to us to get $33 million in judgment against another citizen. Not against a police department, people, against another citizen. That's what I'm trying to remind you of. She didn't say that number right there. She ain't trying to put it in its proper context because she's doing, well, you know, white supremacy.
Many years later, in 2008, he was found guilty of kidnapping and armed robbery related.
He was found guilty for stealing his own damn stuff.
In 2008, he was found guilty of kidnapping and armed robbery related to a sports memorabilia scam that he was running in Las Vegas. The Goldmans were able to garnish his wages forevermore after that verdict, and he was trying to get out of paying, they alleged, and trying to find ways of earning money, potentially off the books. He was sentenced for that crime to 33 years in prison. Many believed.
By the way, 33 again. You all think this stuff is just symbolic? $33 million with 33 years in prison for stealing your own stuff, which she didn't say there. By the way, is that just all coincidental? Is that all just a coincidence? By the way, my likes are a little bit low here tonight. Folks not liking it. Understand, we got some Megyn Kelly fans in here. I'm going to let them go in just a minute. I just want to touch on a few points here.
The sentence was so hefty, not for that crime, but in payment of an earlier one. He was released in 2017 for good behavior and went on to...
By the way, she doesn't talk about the validity of that. How the hell can you be given 33 years in prison for what? Since when they start doing that? She didn't sit up here and say outrageous sentence, by the way, that has nothing to do with anything there. She's like, okay, we're white and we say so. She's lockstepping on code.
This was so hefty, not for that crime, but in payment of an earlier one. He was released in 2017 for good behavior and went on to have a rather large presence on social media, posting videos like the ones I showed you where he's all smiles, he's in good humor. And that's the thing about O.J. Simpson. His personality was effervescent. There was something likable about the guy. And
y'all liked him back when he said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Y'all liked him back then, Megyn Kelly. You were one of the bleached blondes who were looking to get on the team. Y'all loved OJ Simpson back when he was ignoring black people. He could do no wrong. He was your golden boy. Back then. Now all of a sudden you want to be apoplectic? Look it up. All of a sudden you want to be outraged? Oh, it's a thin line between love and hate.
The way he related to us all. But O.J. Simpson, in my view, was a killer. He was a double murderer, just as that civil jury said. And the fact that he had great lawyers who pointed out some failings of the prosecution in its case. That didn't change that. Not for me and not for millions of Americans.
Okay, well, Megyn Kelly, what does it take for a black man to be innocent in your book? Because according to her, George Floyd got what he deserved and O.J. Simpson did. So if a black man is there any black man who's been accused that Megyn Kelly doesn't see as justified? What does a black man gotta do or gotta show in order to be innocent? How much evidence do you need to be innocent? What do you gotta do? What do you have to present? What do you gotta do in order to be innocent? What they're telling you is there's nothing you can do. When we finger you, you're supposed to go down because this is not about guilt or innocence. This is about right and wrong. And I said that the way I meant. This is about right and wrong. And if we say you did it, you did it. Now, you all just heard her talk about the so-called evidence. But for those of you who are a bit younger, I want to show you about this bullcrap ass so-called evidence, and I want to put this in its proper context. You notice Megyn Kelly curiously didn't mention the single most important so-called witness in the case, Detective Mark Ferman. Because O.J. Simpson didn't get off because of a pair of gloves. O.J. Simpson got off because the so-called lead detective who was investigating and saying, yeah, here's the physical evidence against you. Why, he had a long reputation. He had been caught on recorded by an author he'd been talking about, yeah, we frame niggas, we beat niggas, they all niggas. And when Johnny Cochran's team actually did enough investigation to find out that that was real, then they started questioning Mark Ferman. Now, what I'm going to do right now is play for you all. Oh, yes, for those of you who are younger, this is Detective Mark Ferman getting on the stand during the O.J. Simpson trial. Fair use, YouTube. Fair use. And I'm going to damn sure use it. But since Megyn Kelly won't talk about it, and Caitlyn Jenner won't talk about it, and none of the other suspected white supremacists out there will talk about Mark Ferman, all of a sudden they've all got amnesia 30 years later. He was the only one they wanted to talk about back then. All of a sudden now they got amnesia about him. Let me play for you all, especially those of you who are under the age of 35. Let me play for you what the jury heard when Johnny Cochran and them accused Mark Ferman of being racist and accused him of planting evidence. This is Mark Ferman when he took the stand.
Detective Ferman, would you please resume the witness stand? All right, good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
You're reminded, sir, that you are still under oath. Mr. Ullman, you may proceed.
Detective Ferman, was the testimony that you gave in this case completely truthful?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
What? Now I want you all to think about something here for the young folks listening. If you got on the stand, if you were on trial and you got on the stand and the prosecuting attorney asked you, has your testimony been completely truthful? And your response was, I'd like to invoke my Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Now, can you imagine what they would be saying about your black ass if you were on the stand and the prosecutor asked you, did you tell us the truth the last time you were on the stand? And you said, I'd like to invoke my Fifth Amendment right. Now, the reason why I stopped it right there is for you to listen to that, but he goes on for a while with this.
Detective Ferman, was the testimony that you gave in this case completely truthful?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Have you ever falsified a police report?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Is it your intention to assert your Fifth Amendment privilege with respect to all questions that I ask you?
Yes.
I only have one other question.
What was that, Mr. Ullman?
Detective Ferman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Hey, Megyn Kelly, the bleach blonde bimbo. Why didn't you include that part in your piece? Because if I could get this, you certainly remembered it and you could have gotten it. You all just heard him outright be asked, did you plant any evidence?
Or manufacture any...
What was that, Mr. Ullman?
Detective Ferman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Now, there's the lead detective being asked, did you plant any evidence did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case? And he couldn't even say, no, I didn't, but I plead the fifth on everything else. So for those of you who are young, y'all got to understand, for those of us who are older, we got to make sure that we keep them up to code on this, up to speed on this, that we bring all the evidence and the documentation, because they will go back and try to do what they're doing with the history books for chattel slavery and tell you that it never happened. Take a look at how all the white supremacist bimbos out there, looking at you, Megyn Kelly, she knows about Mark Ferman. She said she watched the trial, and yet all these decades later, she refuses to bring up Mark Ferman's name. She told you that what you just heard was inconsequential, that was just a, quote, failing of the system, but it didn't change nothing. She talked about the so-called evidence, and you just heard lead detective Mark Ferman tell you that he will not admit, that he can't tell you truthfully that he didn't manufacture evidence. He was outright asked, did you manufacture in this evidence? I plead the fifth. It was after this that the jury was instructed to follow the law. And the law in a criminal case is that you must find the person guilty beyond the shadow. The real word, operative word there is shadow. Not beyond a reasonable doubt, but beyond even the shadow of a reasonable doubt. The jury actually did what a jury is supposed to do. This wasn't a shadow, this was damn me shade. He's literally being asked, sir, all the evidence that the jury has seen, did you manufacture or tamper with any of that evidence? I plead the fifth, but the nigga guilty, you know. Megyn Kelly said that after you heard that, you still supposed to think the nigga guilty. When the lead detective just told you, by the way, I'm the lead detective, I'm the one in charge of gathering the evidence, and did I manufacture evidence? I don't want to talk on that. I don't want to speak on that. Megyn Kelly, I don't see a problem here. Hell no, you wouldn't see a problem here. She would be sitting up there laughing at Emmett Till getting killed. Oh, well, you shouldn't have been walking down the street, Negro. Tell me why it is that I gotta play this, but none of these other people would go back and find the video of Mark Ferman simply taking the stand and saying, I plead the fifth. If you ask me about the case, what I did that was why it was so important for O.J. Simpson's attorneys. Now, you notice they asked the first two questions, he pled the fifth, and then they asked, is it your intention to plead the fifth to everything? Let me go ahead and back it up one more time.
A police report?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Is it your intention to assert your Fifth Amendment privilege with respect to all questions that I ask you?
Yes.
Okay, well, he said yes to that. So for any of you wannabe lawyers out there who want to try to say, oh, well, he was going to say I plead the fifth to everything. He can't answer yes or no to anything. He answered yes to that. He answered yes to, I ain't going to say nothing but I plead the fifth. It's my intention to plead the fifth to everything. And I'm so glad that O.J. Simpson's attorneys actually had some competence, because they didn't let it go after that. They wanted the jury to know the reason we're stopping here is because he's going to plead the fifth to everything, but he just told you yes. So if he can answer yes to one question, he should certainly be able to answer no to another question. And when he was asked about his own credibility, did you plant or tamper with any evidence? He told you, yes, I'll plead the fifth. He can't even scrounge together the courage to say, no, if whatever else happened, I didn't manufacture or plant evidence.
I only have one other question, Your Honor.
What was that, Mr. Holman?
Detective Ferman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
His attorney told him, tell them yes, you're only going to answer the fifth. But when asked about, did you plant the evidence? Tell him I ain't going to say nothing. That was what the jury heard, and Megyn Kelly knows it, but white supremacy is shameless. And if I didn't bring this to you all tonight so you can hear Detective Mark Ferman in his own words on the stand after all these decades, all these corporate media outlets, Twitter, Fox, and everybody else won't speak about Mark Ferman. They keep leaving his name out, even though for those of us who lived through the trial, he was the most important witness. We were all there. He was the number one witness. It wasn't about a damn pair of gloves or a cut on OJ's hand. The lead detective said when he was asked, did you plant or manufacture evidence? He said, I plead the fifth. Don't ask me nothing. That was why O.J. Simpson was acquitted, because the person in charge of gathering the evidence against him could not even get on the stand and say, I'm not manufacturing evidence or planting evidence. They accused him of planting evidence, and he didn't do a thing to defend it, with his own lawyer sitting right there, standing right next to him. That's why you thought at the beginning that was Ferman at the beginning. You saw me at the beginning there. That's not Ferman at the beginning. That's his lawyer standing right here. That's his lawyer. And I mean, his lawyer ain't even sitting in the audience. His lawyer is standing right next to him on the witness stand, all to tell him don't say nothing. His lawyer said, I can't be no 10 feet away. I got to be 10 inches away. I'm right here. Don't you say a damn thing. And all these white supremacist corporate media outlets, why is it they haven't stopped to say, by the way, here's what happened when the detective who was in charge of gathering the evidence against him and making the case against him, the detective said when he was asked, did you plant evidence? He said, oh, I plead the fifth. Now, if any of you listen to me right now, live or recorded, if you were put on trial tomorrow and you were asked by the prosecutors, did you hide the knife? Did you have any weapons to attack those people with? And you said, I plead the fifth. Not no, not I don't recall, I plead the fifth. Have you ever stabbed somebody? Mr. Brown, I plead the fifth. Sir, have you ever, were you ever in a neighborhood wanting to stab someone? I plead the fifth. Can you imagine if any of you were on trial and that was your answer when you were asked about a crime? I plead, not, no, I didn't do it. I plead the fifth. Everybody in the courtroom would say, boy, I hope you love wearing stripes because you going to prison. In the chat room, you're correct. If the prosecutor asks you, are you on the stand lying right now? I plead the fifth. Did you ever stab your ex-wife? I plead the fifth. Sir, did you ever conspire with somebody to stab up your ex-wife and her friend? I plead the fifth. Is it your intention to plead the fifth to all these questions? Yes. One last question here. Did you stab your ex-wife? I plead the fifth. I have no more questions, Your Honor. Okay, am I free to go? You free to go to jail for this life sentence? You free to go there? That's what they would tell you. Yeah, you free to go for this life sentence. Yeah, save us all a whole bunch of time. He gonna hop in the paddy wagon. He's free to go. Can you imagine that? If you said that anywhere at any time for any reason, that's what the hell they trying to get you to believe. If you said that, they telling you that's legit. And they've left all that out. So understand, for those of you who are coming along later, I want you to understand what you're dealing with. They're not telling the young people this, the folk in their 30s and 20s. They hearing about OJ and they hearing Megyn Kelly's lying, duplicitous, deceitful, backstabbing ass tell them all the evidence clearly showed that OJ was guilty. And yet you know she's a freaking liar because she mentioned Kato Kalin. She mentioned everybody except Mark Ferman. She wouldn't mention Mark Ferman's name because when you say, by the way, what did Ferman do? He got on the stand and said, when he was asked, did you plant evidence? I can't talk about it. Can't say nothing about it. He didn't even have the decency to be able to say, no, I didn't plant any evidence. Get me off this stand. He didn't even have the decency to say, I didn't plant the evidence. Now get me off this damn stand. He just said, I plead the fifth to everything. Everything. Then they come back 30 years later and tell you all the evidence was against OJ. All the witnesses were against OJ. Everything was against OJ except the prosecution's lead witness. Mark Ferman was their lead witness and he got demolished. To the shameful extent that he couldn't even tell you, I didn't plant the evidence that I found on OJ. This is beyond gaslighting. This is just outright propaganda and lying. We passed gaslighting way back there. And if I didn't show this evidence and if I didn't show this footage, everybody in their 30s and 20s would be like, well, that's the problem right there. Y'all just believe everything. Y'all believe all them black radicals on YouTube and they just be saying all kinds of crazy stuff right here. Until we got to be the ones to teach them. This is why we are the black media, because if they're listening to Megyn Kelly or Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, they're not mentioning Mark Ferman over there. They ain't mentioning Mark Ferman over there. If we don't mention Mark Ferman, they're going to want his name to be lost to history. They want his name to be lost to the annals of history. And then you just believe OJ is guilty because we white and we say so. You want to know who's angry about it? Take a look over here. Yahoo News from 8 years ago. Take a look at the headline. Now, you all just heard the evidence from Mark Ferman. You just heard the testimony from Mark Ferman. And this is what they saying on here. This was then back in 2016. Just 20 years after the events. How Detective Mark Ferman may have helped O.J. Simpson get away with murder. So they're not blaming Mark Ferman for planting evidence and manufacturing evidence. They're blaming him. Well, it's OJ still did it. They heard the exact same thing that you all just heard, and they're still standing behind Mark Ferman. So what that tells you is this ain't about the evidence. This is about the accusation. This is supposed to be a paperwork process in America when you black. Well, Jason, now here's where things get diabolical. I want you all to listen very carefully because here's where things get diabolical. Because some of you will be telling yourselves, especially for you young folk here, you can have folks trying to throw red herrings at you. Some of these people will try that, and I want you to understand how to dissect this properly. In the context of the American so-called justice and court system, I want you to understand what that really is. For those of you who suspect that they were killed by other people, and I'm one of those people, that Nicole Brown and Mark Ferman were killed by other folk. what you would naturally be inclined to say is, well, Jason, no matter what happens, they don't want to just pin this on the wrong guy. Number one, it's not just. And number two, the real killers are still walking around out there somewhere. So they have absolutely no incentive to want to pin this on O.J. Simpson. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Number one, that's how you do black men in America. When you've been famous for a while, that's the cruel joke of America, is we let you diddy bob around, but eventually we gonna come back and claw back the wealth. We gonna pin something on you because that's what we do. You are guilty. If you're not guilty of murder, you're guilty of unforgivable blackness. If you are not guilty of murder, you are certainly guilty of unforgivable blackness. You've been sitting up here laying up on top of white women your whole damn life. Plus, she said you smacked her up once and you got away with that. I'll be damned. You are guilty of blackness. Hold this 30-year sentence, nigga. Every black male in here knows when you walk into a damn courtroom, you're not on trial for murder. You're not on trial for rape. You're not on trial for theft. You're on trial for being black. You are on trial for being black, and we're going to see if your blackness outweighs our lies. Or if your blackness outweighs the truth. You're on trial for being black. But Jason, okay, even if you believe that, they wouldn't want the other killers running around out there free. So even if you could get OJ, why would they allow the other killers to walk around out there free? Folks, that's the way the police departments work. As far as a detective or the police like Mark Ferman are concerned, whoever it was that killed Nicole, they gonna eventually catch them. Because they're going to go either kill somebody else or they're going to find evidence to convict them in the case of somebody they've already killed. Just like the mafia. They don't worry about the mafiosos because they know we'll eventually be able to go get them. So we're going to go get OJ because this will be our only chance to convict him of anything. And then after we get him in prison, okay, what about the real killers? Eventually their numbers will come up. Their numbers will come up. Their numbers will come up. We'll run into them. They're going to go kill somebody else later. They're going to go get mobbed up. They're going to go rub somebody out. They're going to go commit another crime later. We going to get another crack at them. We ain't never going to get another crack at OJ. We got to get OJ now. But the folks who really did the killing, they'll be back. A killing this brutal, this gruesome. Oh, they do this all the time. They'll be back. They'll be back. We'll get them later. We got to get OJ now. Take a look on your screen at Detective Mark Ferman. Does that look like the face of a guy who would let two killers off so he can lock up one of those niggers? Does he look like the kind of guy who would let two killers walk and say, don't worry, we'll come back and get them later? They'll do another crime somewhere else. We'll come back and get them some other time. Does he look like the kind of cat who'd do that? Does he look like the kind of fellow who would do that? If I wasn't sitting here giving you all a reminder about who Mark Ferman was and how he was critical and pivotal to the O.J. Simpson trial, Megyn Kelly and the rest of them on CNBC, CNN, MSNBC, all the rest of your so-called liberal networks, and they ain't bringing up Mark Ferman. They're not talking about the guy who broke the case. And you heard what the jury just heard. Now, that was what the jury heard back in 1994, was it? What would a jury say today? If a cop got on the stand today and he was on trial, if the lead detective prosecuting P. Diddy, sir, did you plant or manufacture any evidence? I plead the fifth. Did you pay off Cassie to lie? I plead the fifth. Did you gather all these other people to lie in their testimony against Mr. Carter? P. Diddy? Oh, his name is me. Sean Combs. Did you gather all these people to lie on him? I plead the fifth. What would be said today? What would they be say? What would you say today if Officer Daniel Pentalio, Officer Darren Wilson, Officer Dante Servin, if they were on the stand today and their response, did you say that Tamir Rice, I'm going to gun the little nigger down? I plead the fifth. Have you ever threatened to shoot young black children? I plead the fifth. Did you ever tell your partner, I wish I could shoot some niggers? I plead the fifth. Did you ever target practice with little dolls of black children? I plead the fifth. Not in 1995, but 2025. If we were playing this audio today for a trial today, for the NYPD today, for the LAPD today, and the lead detective or the killer cop was on the stand, and when you asked him, did you mean to shoot them folks? I plead the fifth. Have you ever threatened to shoot unarmed black people? I plead the fifth. Can you imagine what social media would be doing or saying today? He would simply be the most infamous police officer in the history of law enforcement. If this were happening in 2024 and not 1994, he would be the most infamous police officer in the history of American law. And Megyn Kelly told you that don't matter. Nothing going on here. What you talking about, Willis? Let me tell y'all right now, every single one of you, if you committed a crime, but let me get the thumbs up emoji. If you committed a crime, wouldn't you want the damn lead detective to get on the stand when they said, sir, have you framed the defendant? I plead the fifth. Sir, did you plant evidence on the defendant? I plead the fifth. Sir, did you lie on my client? I plead the fifth. Man, you would think your lawyer was damn me Perry Mason and Johnny Cochran rolled up into one. You'd be like, I got the best damn attorney that ever walked out of a law office cafeteria. That's what you'd be saying. You'd be saying that. If you were on trial and your lawyer was able to get the lead detective trying to prosecute you, that he got the lead detective to say that, man, look here. You'd be sitting up calling your kinfolk talking about, yeah, I'm going to be home this evening. Oh, don't worry. The trial is going to be over today. Baby, how do you know? Trust me, the trial about to be over. You can go ahead and start making some grits. You make some cheese grits. I'm going to be home this evening. The only reason I wouldn't be home this evening is if I can't catch a cab. I'm going to be home tonight. I don't know about the police officer up here. I don't know where he going after he got off the stand, but me, I'm going to be home tonight. Oh, trust and believe. If any of you were on trial and your attorney was able to get the damn lead detective to say that right there, you'd be like, oh, no, I'm gone. That's it. Oh, I'm out. Oh, the trial is over today. No doubt about it. Hell, I can bring the damn bloody knife into the court now. Hell, I ain't got to sit up here and keep hiding that damn thing. Yeah, I can go ahead and bring the bloody knife in now. Yeah, buddy. Sure can. I can bring the bloody knife up in here. The bloody knife, the shoes. Hell, the real pair of gloves that I did it with. Now, I can bring the real pair of gloves now. I'm about to go home. I'm about to go home. Well, how you gonna do that? I'm gonna be dancing out the courtroom. Whoop that trick. Whoop that trick. Stab that trigger. So I'm going home today. No, mama, you didn't hear what the man said on the stand. You ain't heard it yet. When you hear it, you're going to be like, oh, what y'all still hold me here for? Judge, let's go ahead and get this verdict now. That's what the hell you would be saying if that was you. Okay, you just heard Mark Ferman say it, and Megyn Kelly, after all these decades and all these other folks, are trying to tell you that what you just heard would not have swayed, shouldn't have swayed the jury. They're telling you that what you just heard Mark Ferman say, that shouldn't have swayed the jury at all. You just hear Mark Ferman say, yes, I would plant evidence. Now put this nigga in jail. If that's not I'm white and I say so, what in the hell is? The man just got on the stand and said, I plead the fifth to any questions about me planting evidence. And Megyn Kelly said, oh, well, that's just a contrivance. Go ahead and lock him up anyway. What evidence do you have to convict OJ when the guy who gathered all the evidence just told you, by the way, don't ask me if I plant evidence? My response will be, I plead the fifth. That's what the hell he just sat there and told you. Just ignore everything else. Tell me what kind of what is the actual evidence against him if you saying, by the way, and ignore the detective who gathered the evidence. Just ignore him. Altogether. Just ignore him. That's what she just said. I don't give a damn what the evidence is. Convict that nigga. This is 30 years later. So what does this tell you? This tells you that this is not about O.J. Simpson. That's what it tells you. This is about a nigga that made it too far, smiled too much, and was gripping too many white women on the butt cheeks. And he had too many white women smiling. O.J. Simpson's offense was he made too many white women smile. And they sitting up here laughing in your face in the dominant society. They're like, yeah, well, we gonna get your ass one day, nigga. We gonna get you. Every time you got a black male who sits up here and flaunts that and whatnot, and he's just like, okay, let's just do it like that, they come for you. O.J. Simpson, Michael Jackson, Cuba Gooding, Tiger Woods. If you a black male and you done made it your thing to have white women around you and you just doing as you please, they gonna make a list, put your name on it and be like, okay, we're gonna check back in with you. Eventually, something gonna happen that we can go ahead and grab you for, but we'll be damned if you gonna set a precedent like that right there. O.J. Simpson made it too far. He made them smile too much. And to add insult to injury, when O.J. Simpson got done with the trial, the first thing he did was go find him a little young white thing for him to go ahead and see about snuggling up with. Damn! By the way, for the young kids out there who don't remember, how many of y'all remember when they tried to indict O.J. Simpson, they tried to arrest him a second time? Remember? How many of y'all remember that? Oh, for the young folks out there, you don't know that, by the way, they were desperate to get O.J. Remember? They were trying to pin a second one on him. Remember? Remember when that happened there? That he had his girlfriend, remember that? Remember that? How many of y'all remember that one? O.J. Simpson, remember, had a girlfriend after that? Remember about that one? Yeah. Why, remember she turned up missing for a little while. Remember? This was right fresh off the damn murder trial, and he had a girlfriend, a white chick, and Lo and behold, oh, she disappears. She disappeared. Oh, no. I didn't bring receipts. I brought invoices. I didn't bring receipts, people. I brought invoices. I ain't telling you what you paid. I'm telling you what you know. Let me go ahead and bring this to you here from Fox News. By the way, take a look on your screens. For those of you under the age of 35, understand something. They were going back to go try to get him again. This says police. Simpson's ex-girlfriend isn't missing. Nose of dead cat. Dateline, Miami. O.J. Simpson's ex-girlfriend is not missing and has been notified by her apartment manager that police found her dead cat in her home, police said Wednesday. The apartment manager at the Towers, where Christine Proddy lives, told police he saw her after the cat was found by police and told her what happened. She told the manager that she had been out of town for about a month. They said, we found your dead cat. Your cat was dead in your apartment. She told the manager, oh yeah, I've been out of town for a month. Police said that the cat probably starved to death. Probably. So do you know what that means? That means they said probably because they still were trying to figure out a way to pin this on OJ. Damn. So they said the cat probably starved to death. They were desperate for anything. Can we pin OJ with a cruelty to damn me animals charge? Can we do anything? So they were looking at O.J. Simpson. Quote, there's no missing person, Jimenez said. Miss Proddy has been seen prior to and after the incident. O.J. is not involved. This is strictly an animal abuse case. Proddy was cited for one count of animal cruelty, a first-degree misdemeanor carrying a $500 fine. She left the damn cat to die. She said the police believe the cat died of starvation, but was too decomposed for a necropsy. People, please understand, O.J. Simpson had to get his lawyers involved. O.J. Simpson was being questioned about this woman. He was being questioned. And look down here at the bottom. Simpson was acquitted in 1995 in Los Angeles of murdering his ex-wife. Was found later liable for their deaths in a lawsuit. In October, a Miami-Dade jury acquitted Simpson of burglary and battery charges stemming from a December 2000 altercation with another motorist. They kept going at him. 1995, civil case. 2000, 2005. They kept going at 2002. Then 2008, they kept going at him everywhere he was. Los Angeles, Miami, Las Vegas. And if I wasn't here and if I didn't remember all of this to the young folk in here under the age of 35, they would have no idea that this was going on the whole time. Please do not be deceived by this headline. O.J. Simpson's lawyers were contacted. His lawyers were having to answer questions about his, quote, missing girlfriend. Remember, they're trying to smooth it over here, but she said, I've been out of town for a month. Out of town for a month. Her parents said they couldn't get a hold of her. The apartment complex, we couldn't get a hold of her. Nobody could get a hold of her, and they went looking for OJ. They did not go looking for her. They went looking for OJ. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Not in Las Vegas, or literally on the other side of the continent in Florida. They were after his ass. And this is a system of white supremacy. They were as eager and desperate to convict him in Florida as they were in California. And then they eventually got him in Las Vegas. Couldn't get Tupac's killer, but we got OJ. The news, insight, and analysis you'll receive absolutely nowhere else. And you better ask yourself, why is it that Joy Reid and the rest of these folks aren't going down the list of these things the way I just did? Why didn't they bring up Mark Ferman? Why didn't they bring up his girlfriend when they were trying to get him for, oh, you know, she's missing. Where were you at, OJ? Your girlfriend is missing. They went to go find him. They admit they didn't even go looking for her. They went looking for him. Do not believe this article. This article is spin and a lie. For those of us who were there, you remember OJ's lawyers had to address the press to say, OJ Simpson, he doesn't know anything about this. Because they were questioning him. Now, if this was just a big old misunderstanding out of Los Angeles, explain to me how in the hell this man remained in the crosshairs for a decade and a half later. Anything suspicious happened around him, they went to work trying to figure out how they could tie him into it. And then they just got caught shamelessly here. His girlfriend left her cat in the damn place. What are the realistic chances that it's been 3 or 4 weeks and she's missing and the cat is dead in the apartment? You know, O.J. Simpson probably strangled the cat. You know, nigger rage. Y'all do know that was what they were saying, right? O.J. Simpson, he just kills to kill. He's on the crime spree. He just kills to kill. He murders to murder. Why? He's been sitting on the rage for so long. Now he's with the girlfriend. He's killed her. This time he didn't just kill a man and the woman. He killed the woman and the cat. He couldn't just go ahead and leave. He killed her and the cat. Murder them all. This is what they were saying, people. And why is it that I have to bring all of this to you 30 years later? Why is it that all these news outlets didn't put everything I just said to you together in a nice, neat little package? That's their job. And yet they didn't do it because they're hoping that you'll forget. Because when I remind you of the insane lengths that these people went to get OJ, then all of a sudden it becomes short work to believe the insane lengths that they'll go to get you or some other black person. This isn't out of the ordinary. How does a black man get to be innocent in a system like this? What do you have to do to be innocent in a system like this? You literally got the lead detective getting up on the stand admitting, by the way, I can plant evidence, and they said that still ain't enough. You need more than that. The person in charge of gathering the evidence can't even get on the stand and say, I would never plant evidence. And they're saying, you call that proof? You call that proof? And sitting here telling you and me we need to just roll with it. Ain't no problem. Y'all niggas need to just roll with it is the real issue. If you just go along with it, don't sit up here and talk about no damn justice. Justice is whatever in the hell we say it is, whenever in the hell we say it is. So for those of you who have spent the last 20 years, if you're younger, hearing folks talk about O.J. Simpson and never putting that trial in its proper context, there's a reason that they don't come at us older folks like that. They don't come at us like that because we were there and we gonna say, what about Mark Ferman? And Megyn Kelly showed how guilty she was. She didn't even mention Detective Ferman. Now, how is it that a woman who sat there and just bragged to you about being a lawyer and she didn't say anything about the top cop involved in it? She talked about the evidence, but didn't say a word about the cop who was required to gather that evidence? She's looking less and less like a suspected white supremacist. And all of a sudden, the suspicion, looking like there's not a whole lot of suspicion going on. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. And the number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the blackest radio program in existence. And, of course, the anchorman of the new black media. You are, of course, welcome to join us. Before we do here, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, all points in between. Shout out here to my man, Mr. Richburg, as always. Thank you very much for your support, brother. We appreciate that. My man, Mark B., thank you very much here as well. Keandra, thank you very much. Bruce and everybody else here. We got my folks here in the Super Chat. I want to thank all of y'all here as well here. W1 Chucky Woo, Bruce Warren, my girl Andrea Roberson, thank you very much for your support. All the new members here tonight. For those of you, like I say, the ability to be a member is down there as well. I want to thank all of you also. Black Voltron, thank you very much. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, the phone lines are open. This is the Black Channel.
Hello, my name is Steve Burgess, and I'm the author of this book, Guidelines for the Successful Student, a closer look at parenting your school-aged child. In this book, I've explained the role of the parent and the student in addition to what accommodations, procedures, rewards and consequences and expectations that need to be in place to ensure student success from primary to high school. This book is available on Amazon.com. For more information, please visit my link tree at Easy One-on-One, and to access my latest podcast, A Teaching Moment with Mr. B. Thank you all for listening.
A white supremacist assassin seeks revenge. Corrupt FBI agents with evil intentions. Dangerous black collaborators dedicated to treason. Occam Jeffers must defeat them all and somehow survive. One misstep and he's a dead man. Join Occam Jeffers as he looks the devil in his blue eyes and tells him, Black first. A sequel to the underground hit War of the Heart, Spirit of 1811 Publishing presents God Love Us, on sale at Amazon. Pre-order and save today. Visit spiritofo1811publishing.com and show your love.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' natural body butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' all. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening, and the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Phone lines are filling up here fast. Of course, I want to get to every phone call I can, so please don't go on a monologue. I understand some of y'all want to be armchair historians. Please don't go on the monologue. And ask yourselves just one question here tonight. How is it that if we actually have anything slightly resembling a media apparatus, a news apparatus anywhere around here, please explain to me, why is it that they didn't appraise you and highlight the things I talked about tonight? Why did they skip over Mark Ferman? Why did they skip over the evidence? Why did they skip over the campaign of stalking OJ that the police had? And how much evidence does a black man need in order to be able to prove he's innocent? You got the damn police to admit we can't even look you in the face and say we didn't plant any evidence. Okay, so how much more does a black man need? Because you understand what they're setting up there. I mean, the idea there is, okay, there's nothing makes you innocent. Okay, well, if nothing makes me innocent, then what am I really being charged with? If you say I stole something and I show you evidence and proof that I didn't steal it, and you say, yep, that doesn't matter, well, then what am I actually being charged with? You're being charged with being black. And you can never be innocent of that. Didn't you know? You see, when your crime is being black, you can never be innocent of blackness. Never. You're always going to be guilty of that. And that's what you're really on trial for. Call from area code 928. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, my name is James from Chicago. How are you doing? Good, great podcast. I have a couple questions. First, to answer your first question, is that why Mark Ferman was not mentioned. You got to be aware that I believe, what's her name? She recently got fired or got let go from Fox, and usually they sign NDA contracts. So, in a part of those contracts, they're not allowed to slur or mention any current employees for Fox. So that is probably why she refused to mention his name. And the other thing about, I totally agree with you. I really don't think OJ did it, but I really do think he was involved in their murder. He was there. So I just have a question for you. You have any theories on how they got killed? But because I do think he was involved. I don't think he actually killed them because.
Okay, involved how? How do you think he was involved?
Well, I think that his son did it though. That basically his son had huge mental issues.
Here's the issue with that. Neither the prosecution, police, or anybody else ever indicated that in any way. They never implied that. So why didn't they just go get, if his son did it, if that would make it easier, why don't we just go ahead and accuse the son and say OJ helped him? That's it. Nice little package.
No, I think OJ just decided to take the fall and decided to go through all of that nonsense with the police.
That doesn't make any sense.
Certain that his son.
Why does that? How does that make sense?
He's a father.
Okay.
As a father, I think you would do anything for your son. So
okay,
I really do think that
here's the problem. OJ Simpson would do anything for OJ Simpson.
And his children.
Where's the proof of that?
I mean, it's just natural. I mean, as a father, I think you would just do anything for your children. I mean, basically looking at it, as you just pointed out, that Ron Goldman, he's 6'3", he's a martial artist. There's no way.
And OJ Simpson's son was not.
OJ Simpson's son was actually very violent. He had a history of, stabbing people.
Okay, sir. He had the history of stabbing people. When did he get convicted of that, sir?
He didn't get convicted, but he had a violent
Wow.
history.
Okay, do you hear yourself now? Now, this isn't me talking. This is you talking. O.J. Simpson's son. I mean, he stabbed folks up. Since when? Everybody know he did it. When has he ever got? If he was violent enough that he would chop the stepmom's head off, then what? Tell me why? Where he obviously wouldn't stop there.
Still, I mean, as pointed out before, I totally agree. I really don't think OJ definitely did.
Okay, but what you're saying is that the son had a one-night crime spree and then got off on it and never went back and harmed another human being so long as he lived.
It's just a theory about
right. What I'm saying is I'm pointing out why your theory is improbable. Because the guy you're accusing never got convicted of anything. Hell, never got accused of anything. You're claiming he stabbed people. Nobody else is. And what you're claiming is that he just went on a crazy spree one night. Okay. Went on a murderous rampage. Okay. And then he was sated for the rest of his life and never had another day's trouble after that. That's what you're telling us.
There was a whole lot of tension between his son and
okay, sir, but there wasn't a whole lot of stabbing.
Oh.
But there wasn't a whole lot of stabbing.
either way, as I pointed out,
yeah, well, the theory falls apart because your theory is based on he never got convicted of a crime. He was never accused of anything. You think he has a violent streak in him. Okay, that's you talking. He didn't go after his father. He had tension with stepmom, or she's not really stepmom, to be totally honest. And he goes off and kills her and her boyfriend, who should have been able to defend himself against that, solo. He did it all. OJ wasn't the super nigga solo. His son was the super nigga solo. Okay. And then after that night, he never had another violent incident so long as he lived.
Nothing documented, but again, that's just a theory. But,
okay. I just wanted to bring it up right there so you can see where it falls apart at. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say, it's when you try to make that balance, you try to make that one work, not gonna make it. Caller from area code 206, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Agnes calling from Seattle, Washington.
Agnes from Seattle, what's on your mind?
Hi, excellent podcast. Thank you for the lesson, especially for the younger adults, because this erasure and rewriting of history is doing a great disservice. To answer your question, no, Megyn Kelly has to stay on code and not speak out against Mark Ferman. Look what happened when she spoke out against Trump, okay? She got smacked down. She can't speak out against Ferman. Ferman still has juice, and they all stay on code. So she wants to keep her job. She wants to stay relevant. She's going to keep her mouth shut. Also, the Jack Johnson treatment, 100 years later, they still going after not just black men, everybody. Open season. They hounded. I remember the situation in Florida. It was like, man, they won't let Jews rest. And even now, after, he passed away, they still won't let him go because they still mad that people looked at the evidence and said, you know what? If Ferman broke the case, then we know we've got more than just white supremacy on trial. It's the whole system that's on trial.
Yeah, and everything is calibrated towards avoiding that discussion. In 1995, we had the system on trial. Trayvon Martin, we put the system on trial. George Floyd, we put the system on trial. So every time we take that as an opportunity to put the system on trial, watch for the folks who all of a sudden, they hate government, but they love the courts. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Y'all know this is about these right-wingers and whatnot. They always claim that they hate government, remember? They always claim they hate government. But they love the courts, though. Man, they love the courts. They love police right up until they don't. They love the court system when it's prosecuting us. Call them area code 417. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, good evening, Jason. This is Al from Springfield, Missouri.
All right, Al from Springfield, what's on your mind?
Yes. I watched the O.J. Simpson trial all the way, when I was in college and everything else. And basically, it was almost like the media was trying to convict O.J. Simpson. The one thing that they never mentioned, though, about his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, they did touch on it a little bit, was that the fact that she had various affairs, including with Marcus Allen back in the late 80s. And, it was well known that she had an affair with Marcus Allen. It was also known, too, according to one of her friends named Cora Fishman, that she was, hanging around with people at this restaurant in Brentwood that doesn't exist, that had ties to the mob, and that they used to meet. She and her friends, Faye Resnick, who was also a drug addict who did cocaine. They would have various parties at
I mean, understand, not just Faye, Nicole's sister. Remember her? All the females around her had substance abuse issues, not just Faye Resnick. All the females around her, all the wine woman song, drugs, drank, the whole 9 yards. So it's everybody in that circle had a drug habit, amazingly enough, except OJ. OJ was the only one you couldn't point to and say, hey, he got an active drug habit.
Right. One thing I followed the trial. The one question I want to know, and I know it would have been a risky move by Johnny Cochran, but why didn't he call that lady Cora Fishman to testify? She did testify in the civil case, but she didn't get to testify in the criminal case along with Marcus Allen. I know that would have been interesting if Marcus Allen would have been called up to the witness stand as a defense about Nicole Brown Simpson and everything else. Of course, it would have been risky, but
I mean,
it would have been worse.
I don't think it's not so much that. I just don't think it would be germane. What was Marcus Allen's knowledge of that night when she got killed? There's the only real question, because it's not about whether or not Nicole Brown Simpson was sleeping with a bunch of dudes or whether or not she got around. That wouldn't be the issue. The only reason to talk to Marcus Allen is, are you a suspect? Other than that, because he can't testify for OJ, and he doesn't really have anything to say. And it's like, didn't you sleep with her back in the day? It's like, show, okay, off the stand. So those folks didn't really have anything to contribute as far as where that's concerned. You can't just grab everybody who knows her. Do they have any actual actionable information of what happened that night? No, not really. Marcus Allen was just a entertaining anomaly in this whole story as far as gossip is concerned, because now you got the gossip magazines and stuff. Yeah, Marcus Allen was fuel for gossip, but there's not one shred of evidence that he had any information or knowledge or involvement of what happened on that night. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller area code 412. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Robert calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's obvious the duplicity of due process leans toward convicting and incarcerating black people. You are so thorough in your assessment of the trial. It is acutely urgent for black men to realize that Becky is kryptonite for black men and Brad is kryptonite for black women. This trial is a type of performative injustice that feeds the prison industrial complex. Hello, Megyn Kelly. Brothers and sisters, let us forgive each other and come back together for the purpose of parrying the thrust of black genocide and incarceration, thus increasing our generational wealth and fairness. How can the small percentage of black people in this country have more people in jail and a death row than the other ethnicities that commit most of the crimes in this country? That is the whole thing right there. It's performative injustice, and I agree with Dr. Claude Anderson. We need to fight to bring back justice in the injustice system.
I agree. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get call from area code 240. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Javon. I'm calling from St. Charles, Maryland.
All right, Javon from St. Charles, Maryland. What's on your mind?
I think OJ did it, but I also think that the police fabricated the evidence. So I kind of fall on both lanes. The reason why I think he did it is because when he was in that Bronco with AC, he was saying, "Oh, I only wanted to love Nicole," and I'm thinking, wouldn't you be like, "Hey, man, these people setting me up.
No.
Gotta find out who's doing this to me."
No. No. O.J. Simpson had already talked to the police. The police made it very clear, we're not looking for any other suspects. We're just trying to find evidence to convict you. That's all. We ain't talking to nobody else. We ain't looking at nobody else. If we're going to disregard everybody else, you're the one we want, and all we want is evidence that leads to you. Police make that very, very clear to you. They make it very clear to you that they're not trying to work a case. They're just trying to figure out how to incarcerate you. Hell no, he's done talking at that point. Hell yeah, he's talking about trying to get... Brother, look, let me explain something to y'all. I'm from Louisiana. It don't get any dirtier than my state. It doesn't. But let me tell you, Los Angeles is a damn close second. Los Angeles is one of the most obviously corrupt on-code places you've ever witnessed. Remember, right now, the news media is still talking about the so-called gangs in the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. We've been talking about the gangs in the Sheriff's Department there with their tattoos and everything now for decades. Ain't nobody did a damn thing about it. They got tattoos like they MS-13. And ain't nobody did a damn thing about it. That's Los Angeles. Gangsterism is a culture in Los Angeles, and that includes the police department. People sit up here and minimize that, and they can't do that. You walking in a whole damn police station. I mean, remember, OJ was before they broke ramparts. Remember, OJ was before they broke ramparts. Before that. It doesn't get more openly corrupt and in collusion against citizens, framing people and everything else than ramparts. It don't get more open than that. So that's what, those were the cops that he was talking to when he got snatched back up off that plane. That's who he was talking to. You damn right. He's like, they gonna railroad me. This is Los Angeles. They gonna railroad me. They already then got it together. The prosecutors together. They gonna railroad me. You damn right he's trying to figure out, let me get out the damn country because ain't gonna be no justice here, man.
But he wasn't saying any of that in the back of the Bronco.
Okay, you don't know what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but brother, okay, brother, do you have a recording of what he said in the back of the Bronco, sir?
I heard one. I heard it when AC. Someone was talking to AC. They was recording it, and you could hear him in the background saying, "Oh, I love Nicole. I only wanted the best for her." And I'm like, why aren't, if someone's setting you up?
Okay, sir, if he's saying that, when he's saying this, I wouldn't kill Nicole. I love Nicole. She was kind of screwy and stuff like that. I had divorced the broad, but I love Nicole. They trying to pin this on me. It's like, what the hell? She's the mother of my kids. It's just like, hey, I got another one now. Are we good? So it's like, what the hell? We're going to pin this on him regardless. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. He felt like there was no way out.
But the other thing is somebody was trying to pin it on him.
But brother, that's
the only thing. He wasn't saying.
He was saying that the whole. But sir, he was saying that the whole time. Why do you think he got a defense team? Why do you think he got a defense team, sir? Yeah. O.J. Simpson was consistent. Tell me one time that he ever told anybody anything other than I didn't do it. When he was in arraignment, they asked, how do you plead? He said, absolutely, quote, absolutely, positively not guilty. At what point was he ever inconsistent about that?
Yeah, well, they did catch him in a lie during the deposition for his civil trial when he said he never wore those Bruno shoes. And if you would have seen his face when they showed him a picture of him in a football stadium with those shoes.
Okay, sir, I don't think that happened, sir. I'm pretty sure that didn't occur. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say, it's just, no. OJ, I heard the whole thing. Sir, where'd you hear? My Ouija board over here. All right, brother. I heard it. The rest of us didn't. But I got connections. I used to play dice with AC. I used to play dice with him. And Call Miracle 323. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Big Brother Jason. This is Brother Elijah calling out of Silver Spring, Maryland.
All right, Brother Elijah, on the road again. What's on your mind?
Hey, brother. I have a very strong question, but before I say ask my strong question, I just want to say, rest in peace to O.J. Simpson. He's gone, but him and his legacy is not forgotten. All right. My question to you, brother, about his trial victory. There were some things that occurred a little during the trial and after. My question is, do you think his trial victory was a victory for him or a victory for the black men? Because from what I've observed, I think we've taken way more L's than we had more victories after that case. Case in point, like especially things like the domestic violence law on the law code, they say it's the OJ law and everything like that. And it reached a point where, you know, a lot of brothers would get into a disputes with women and everything like that. And simultaneously, all the sisters know is to just call the cops, even if it's for a little argument. And then
here's the thing.
That's my question.
O.J. Simpson's not guilty verdict was a victory for him. The O.J. Simpson trial was a victory for all of us.
Okay.
So the real thing is the trial, no matter who it was, because here's the bottom line. You ain't OJ, you black. Okay. OJ was a proxy for all of us. It doesn't matter how much buck dancing Coonan denying he was trying to do or whatever else. He was a proxy for us, whether he wished to be one or whether he didn't. So with us understanding that that's the situation, it was not in our best interest to turn a blind eye to that. There's the whole thing, because what you find out is that after they've started putting OJ on trial, you start realizing, oh, there's ramifications beyond this. They don't see OJ Simpson as OJ Simpson now. They see him as that nigga over there. And so the outcome of that trial had ramifications for all of us. So him being found not guilty was the victory for him. The trial and its outcome was the victory for us. And if you don't believe it was a victory for us, tell me why the hell these folks are still spitting, fighting mad about it to this very day.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Let me get caller from area code 562. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How you doing? My name is Dennis. I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia. How you doing?
All right, Dennis from Atlanta. What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm originally from Los Angeles. I was 11 years old when Rodney King got beat. I was 12 during the riots, 14 and 15 during the OJ trial and the verdict. And in hindsight, when I look at the situation now, 30 years later, especially since OJ has passed away, a couple things come to mind as I got older now that I'm 44. The first thing that comes to mind is I've been convinced that O.J. Simpson got off because they let the cops off for beating Rodney King. Because I was right there in Los Angeles during the riots. They burnt every single establishment, every single place of business down where you could, spend your money in the black neighborhoods. I'm from Long Beach, and L.A. caught most of the hell, but we got some of it in Long Beach too. And I feel that white folks were very, very scared of what black people were going to do otherwise if they were to convict OJ, because I know they tried to get OJ for the death penalty, and rather than even ask for it, I heard that they were going to ask for it, and then they decided not to because they know they wasn't going to get it.
Well, I don't think that was the case, actually. And the reason why is because the O.J. Simpson trial for them was a rematch of the Rodney King incident. So they actually wanted to convict him because they wanted a rematch for that. So they were, if they had convicted him and stuff, they'd have been the LAPD and the LASD and the National Guard or whatever. They'd have been out in the streets and everything. They were spoiling for a fight after the LA riots. They were spoiling for one.
No, absolutely.
Whether it was a good idea or not is a different question. But they were looking for a fight after that.
But money-wise, I'm saying that as far as financially, it wouldn't have been smart to convict OJ, knowing that black people in my neighborhood, especially in my area, black people were prepared to go to the white neighborhoods. They were prepared to go to the suburbs now and risk their lives getting to the suburbs to fight them.
Yeah, but I think they fancied themselves more prepared for it the second time Now, whether or not they really pulled off, maybe a different question. But no, they were thinking about that. They were thinking about that the second time. They were very interested to prove that they could do that. And the real thing is, Marcia Clark was not holding back on nothing. O.J. Simpson was found innocent because the evidence was not there. Mark Ferman simply cemented everything else. The truth of the matter is, you couldn't place O.J. Simpson at the scene. You know his whereabouts the whole night, but you couldn't actually place him there. You have to come up with a circumstantial case against him. A motive. Remember, for a murder conviction, it's method, motive, and opportunity. Method, you couldn't place him at the scene. Motive, the knife and everything. Well, not really sure about the weapon either. Motive. Well, what would be his reason for killing this woman? And that's real ambiguous. And of course, opportunity. Well, you're going to have to thread a lot of needles to get him to be in that place at that specific time, in that specific time frame, and then to get out of there and whatnot. That was real tough to do.
Yes, sir. I'm not. Now, all that you're saying, I'm not disputing what you're saying, because, like I said, I know what I know, and just hearing you speak, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You know more than I do. You know, I know what I know, but you know more than me about this. But what I'm saying to you is that I'm not disputing everything you just said. It sounds poignant and it sounds very true. I'm saying to you is that even if they wanted to say, I don't give a damn what evidence was found, what wasn't found, whatever the case may be, is that we had Rodney King get beat, those cops got off, Latasha Harlins got shot and killed in the back of the head.
Yeah, what you're saying is that LA was going to turn up, and there's a possibility.
No. I mean, LA had just started building LA back. I mean, they were in the very
yes, sir. We got that part there. What I'm saying is, I'm not convinced that actually would have occurred. I'm not convinced that there would have been I'm not convinced there would have been a repeat.
I'm saying is that no one's talking about that. Like you're saying, nobody nowadays is bringing up Mark Ferman because they're trying to rewrite history. I'm saying to you is that in addition to that very that absolute true statement you made during your video about no one's trying to bring up Mark Ferman, is that no one is bringing up the fact these young kids don't know that Rodney King was beat by these cops. The cops were found not guilty. That Latasha Harlins was shot and killed in the back of the head for so-called stealing juice and donuts. Her killer, the Asian woman, was put on, as you know, a probation by a white judge who thought that doing that was going to spare her feelings, or it was the best thing to do was to let her go for killing this woman. And all these Korean businesses in L.A. were being targeted. So they had not one murder and one beating on their hands. Third strike, they were not going to allow O.J. to do that. But let me say one more thing, sir, before I get off the call. Speaking of Mark Ferman, I also come to the conclusion, and this is just me being objective, I wonder sometimes, was Mark Ferman secretly on O.J.'s side? And did they plant him to fuck up the evidence or to say, I'm going to plead my Fifth Amendment privilege?
Did who plant him? Who?
No, I'm saying is that they know that this guy has a background that's...
Okay, second time,
really
sir, you said,
the
did they plant him? Who is they?
No, I'm saying the system.
The system. Who is that,
people,
sir? Specifically who?
The big dog.
Marcia Clark and the prosecutor's office?
I'm not saying Marcia Clark. I'm saying those that called the shot. I'm saying did they put Mark Ferman in place to purposely go on that stand and say, I plead my fifth, because that was something that may have been paid off by OJ to get him off? Because as you say, and as I agree, that Mark Ferman's testimony, or lack thereof, was the deciding factor in this case. If it wasn't for Mark Ferman, OJ Simpson could have still went to jail.
All right, brother. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight here. Jason, what do you think of that?
Nigga, please. Nigga, please.
Nigga, please. Did O.J. Simpson pay to get Mark Ferman out of there? Did O.J. Simpson do that? Brother. Come on now. Come on. Call America 224. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, Jason? This is Antoine from Evanston.
All right, Antoine from Evanston, where, sir?
Evanston, Illinois. Sorry.
All right, Evanston, Illinois. What's on your mind?
All right. So I mean, when I hear some of this stuff, it just baffles me. But I'm from the Chicagoland area. For one, we had a monster by the name of John Bird. So when you talk about guys like Mark Ferman, I think this country just has invested interest in having these type of people within law enforcement, and it's very obvious. But I think also that you got a lot of sycophants, and unfortunately, they look like us too. But it's like they get off by seeing, a black man being villainized, that they ignore the obvious. So for her not to bring that up, I think it will very much so illuminate that, and just 10 years shy of what was going on with OJ, you had Fred Hampton, so, and then, even with what's going on currently around, the Chicagoland area and a lot of these other major cities, we still dealing with, with every 6 to 12 months, you finding out somebody that was supposedly guilty. They re-looked the evidence, and there was no way possibly he could have committed that crime. So when you're talking about guys like Mark Ferman, you know how many people we had, how many prosecutors that's aware of this guy, and how many parts of the system it has to go through and get filtered through, judges up to mayors, that they know of this stuff that's going on, and they ignore it. And even if they sit over there and want to prosecute them, it'll be damn near like a career-making case, but they ignore it for a particular reason.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, as far as O.J. Simpson was concerned, once again, remember, every damn body wrote a damn book except for Judge Ito. If Ito wrote a book, I don't remember it. Everybody wrote a damn book. Everybody was making money off of that thing, man. O.J. was an industry. O.J. Simpson saved The Tonight Show. What? For those of you who remember when Jay Leno took over The Tonight Show? The ratings were terrible. O.J. Simpson trial happens. All of a sudden, Jay Leno is the man. But then again, where was he broadcasting out of? So, I mean, O.J. Simpson wasn't a man anymore. He was an industry. Folks, forget about that. Okay, Chris Darden wrote a book, Snooze. Marsha Clark got television deals. How many of you remember that? Marsha Clark. Not only did that scandalous broad. Do y'all remember that Marsha Clark took her ex-husband back to court to increase the alimony so she could pay for more suits to wear to the trial? What? Do y'all remember that? I do. Marsha Clark took her husband back to court asking for more alimony money so that she could afford to buy more outfits for the trial. I'm not even going to Google that one for you all. You all go Google that one your damn selves. It was on Inside Edition. Google it your damn selves. My folk in LA remember that. She took that man back to court so she could get more money out of him, told them, I need to pay for more suits to be able to wear the trial. Said it with a straight damn face. Now, to the folks who are younger, they don't even know that kind of mess was going on. Folks was eating off OJ. Eating good. Editorial cartoonists, television shows, TV networks, wall-to-wall coverage, prosecutors, deputy prosecutors, everybody was writing a book. How many of y'all remember that Kato Kalin was making personal appearances? Jason, why are you yelling it? Because nobody else is telling it. Y'all done forgot about all this. Kato Kalin, during the trial, remember, and after the trial, he was making personal appearances. I forget what mall he was at. A bunch of girls were sitting there screaming and stuff. They were screaming like this little bastard was Brad Pitt. How many of y'all remember Kato Kalin was making personal appearances? He made it to what? The Z-List? He was on Mad TV. Kato Kalin was on Mad TV. It was the most shameful, tasteless, disgraceful thing ever. When Kato Kalin was on Mad TV, remember the promos he did for it? I did it. That was what they played during the commercials for his appearance on Mad TV. I did it. I admit it. I did it. And that was the skit that they did for him. He was there to admit to a bunch of really superfluous garbage things. But that was the thing they did for him for Mad TV is I did it.
Wow, that was all I had to say, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Y'all can go look that one up for yourselves, by the way. Don't believe me. Look it up for yourselves. I remember, for those of us who were there, if we didn't remember it, these folks wouldn't be sitting up here reminding you of that. They wouldn't remind you of a damn thing of that. It was shameless. It was absolutely despicable and shameless what folk were doing. They were making money all over the damn place. All over the damn place. Oh, man. Don't challenge me on this. Don't challenge me on this.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Folks, by the way, fair use, YouTube. You should have been doing the damn work your damn self. For those of you who doubt it, to the folks in your 30s, by the way, oh yeah, one more thing. Jason, how reliable is your memory? I'd say pretty damn reliable.
The moment you've been waiting for. Cato Kalin.
Do you all hear this? On Mad TV on Fox, they're sitting up here applauding this man for showing up during a damn skit. Do you hear this? His only thing he's known for is being the house guest of somebody accused of murder. If this isn't shameless, what the hell is?
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Cato Kalin.
Please. I'm here tonight to finally speak my mind. Boy, this is not going to be easy. There are several things that have been weighing on my mind lately for a long time, and I can't hold it in. Okay. Here goes. Back in 5th grade, I was cheating off of Sally Dempsey's English test, but Mrs. Kendall blamed Sally and kept her after school. So, Mrs. Kendall, if you're watching, it was me. It wasn't Sally, it was me. Me. Okay.
I'm not going to play the whole thing for you all, but this was Cato Kalin right after the damn trial. I want to say right after it, although it could have been during it, but this was him, by the way. Now, Megyn Kelly ain't going to come back and play this for you. Inside Edition, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, they're not going to come back and play this for you. And if Jason Black didn't remember that this occurred 30 damn years ago, oh, that's Cato Kalin. Talking about, and during the commercials the ads that they played for and stuff, they said, and what they have is special guest, next Mad TV is Cato Kalin.
Kendall blamed Sally and kept
and
her
they
after
just
school.
played him saying this part here.
So, Mrs. Kendall, if you're watching, it was me.
This is what they were playing during the commercial, just when of the promotions they did for this episode here. It was me. A special guest star, Cato Kalin. It was me.
It wasn't Sally, it was me. Me.
And listen to them laughing in the audience. So let me get this straight. O.J. Simpson is on trial for his life. And y'all are laughing about this woman being dead is such a serious thing. And yet they're laughing about it. About Cato Kalin pretending that he's going to take responsibility for it. Laughing about it. So you supposed to sit up here and be sitting on pins and needles, and yet this guy's sitting up there on Mad TV making money about it? Call from area code 646. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Onan from Queens.
Onan from Queens. What's on your mind?
So I believe that Johnny Cochran is one of the best lawyers that we had in our generation. And if you look at the trial with him and Robert Kardashian and Barry Scheck and F. Lee Bailey, they spun the narrative and they told the truth about the the LAPD, I was about to say the NYPD, but the LAPD, you know, and how they have this very precarious history of dealing with black people. You know, if you look at the case with Eula May Love or Latasha Hollins, that was the 15-year-old girl that was shot in the back of the head by June Jadu, and she only gets 400 hours of community service. You know, but my main question is, do you think that there's going to be another lawyer like Johnny Cochran? There's somebody who's able to take the situation and expose the police department for what they truly are in order to get justice for black people?
Well, my short answer, are we ever going to have another Johnny Cochran? No. My long answer is we're never going to have another Johnny Cochran. For our sakes, we better have a better one. For our sakes, if we get another shot at it, we need better than Johnny Cochran now. We really, really do. So he was a fabulous attorney in Shreveport. You know how we do it. But definitely, I hope the next time around we have even better than that, because we need it. White supremacy is an organism that evolves. It keeps trying to shore itself up. It keeps trying to patch in its holes to make itself even stronger as it goes along and even more insidious. So I hope we get something better. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller number code 424. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's up, Jason? How you doing, brother? I'm enjoying the broadcast about this issue, and you're doing a magnificent job. You and Tariq definitely have.
What is your name? Where are you calling from, brother?
Oh, I'm sorry, Rashad from Los Angeles.
All right, Rashad from Los Angeles. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I want to represent us brothers from LA properly. That last caller, I don't know what that dude's issue was. I was in LA as well when the whole O.J. Simpson trial. I was a senior in high school when it actually happened. And one of the things that I put this on Facebook today that people don't ever talk about is the connection with the Mezzaluma restaurant where what's his name, Ron Goldman worked. And there were two people, among others, that were killed in connection to that place. One person was Michael Nigg, who was shot in a parking lot, who was friends with Ron Goldman. He worked at Mezzaluma restaurant. His murder is still open. And the other person is a guy by the name of Brett Cantor, who was stabbed to death in his apartment, the same way Nicole Brown Simpson was actually killed, with his neck, his throat slit, and his tongue pulled out, Colombian necktie style. And he was actually friends with Goldman. The guy was a promoter for clubs. And Goldman, even his father said this, was planning to open up a nightclub where he had blueprints to actually open up a nightclub. And this guy, Cantor, was friends with Ron Goldman. So a lot of people speculate that there was a lot of drug dealing at that place, that the mob was connected to it, and one of the drug cartels of Colombia was also connected to that particular restaurant. And there was reports of waiters with $50,000 cars and things of that nature. And just working and living in that neighborhood in Brentwood, there's a gang of drug dealing and drug selling that goes under the radar that's never reported. Nobody says anything about it. I've literally, been to parties where I've seen people come out with mountains of cocaine and ecstasy and all sorts of other drugs. And that's just the culture that's over there, because this is a place where you have white folks who have a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never gets reported.
The whole thing is that whole inner circle. They want to talk about O.J. Simpson's personal life. The media didn't really want to investigate that about Nicole Brown, because as soon as you scratch beneath the surface, there it was. Ironically enough, of course, everybody in Los Angeles knew about it. Everybody in L.A. knew about Mezzaluna, but the national media made sure not to mention that at all, or do any, with all the money and time and resources they spent crawling up OJ's draws. And yet, if they had spent half of those resources investigating Mezzaluna, and more importantly, even if you didn't get to Mezzaluna, that was bad by itself. But even if you didn't get there, if you simply asked more questions, O.J. Simpson said it in his book. He said, I don't know who killed Nicole, but it would be, if I had to hazard a guess, it'd be somebody from Faye Resnick's world and that group of people that she hangs around with. So O.J. Simpson said it in his book. Faye Resnick is the one folk need to be looking at, or that group that she hangs out with. Faye was hard off in it. She was deep off in it. And the media just said, yeah, screw that altogether. Not because they didn't know, but precisely because they did. Hey, OJ, we're here to get you. We are all in on it. The police, the prosecutors, the news stations, local news stations, national news stations, cable news, talk. We're all here to get you. So you can keep yelling about Faye Resnick and clubs all you want to. We're here to get you. And that's exactly what it is, because Los Angeles is a mob city. Folks don't think about it that way, but LA is a mob city. When the mob left out of New York and Philadelphia and Chicago and ran west, they went Las Vegas and they went Los Angeles. And they were hiding out ever since. And people don't think about it in those terms. But the truth is, when you got a city where folks is turning up dead, white folk are turning up dead, it's obvious as hell what's going on, and don't nobody know nothing, and nobody is asking the people you need to be asking, oh, that's mobbed up. That's mobbed up is what that is. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get called from area code 213. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How you doing? This is Jay from the DMV area.
Jay from where at in the DMV area, sir?
Yeah, DMV. I just want to first of all say rest in peace to the
Okay,
greatest.
brother, you're not listening to me right now here, folks. Don't give me DMV area. I live out in the Boondocks area here. Folks, come on now. If you know where you're at, let me know where you're at. Let me get called from area code 470. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, this is Tracy from Lithonia.
Okay, this nigga waking up from his narcolepsy. All right, Tracy, what's on your mind?
I'm so glad that you're doing this program this tonight, because it's just like you say. When can a black man ever be innocent? If he's tried by a jury of his peers and you still don't believe it, everyone, we're such cowards over time, and everyone wants to get invited to the party that the white supremacists having. And so you forget, and so with tongue in cheek, you agree with him that, oh yeah, he's guilty and all this stuff. The best defense in the world is to not have done something. To not have done something. No witness and no weapon found. Okay, and now let me end it with logic. Okay, you're going to tell me that a middle-aged man, 40-some years old, is going to brutally kill two people. He's never killed anyone before, but he's going to brutally kill two people, bloody, terrible scene, and then coolly make a plane to Chicago.
Out of nowhere, he gets up on a random Friday after 2 years. He stealthily goes to the place, kills her like Ninja Jack, is able to slice her up, and then her male friend, who's bigger and stronger and younger at every metric.
A young athletic man. A young athletic man.
What's he got, a black belt in karate or something like that? He got
and coolly make a plane to Chicago.
Yeah, he got like a blue belt or black belt in karate or whatever the case may be. He's in Los Angeles. To put all that together, and he came out of it with barely a scratch.
That's right. That's the mark of a professional. I mean, people are not thinking logically here.
No, they're not thinking logically. They're not thinking logically because they're thinking racially. He's the target, and they want all the evidence to conform to him.
Let's throw everything up against the wall and blame and see what sticks. And let me say this: whether it's Smith, Stephen Smith, or anybody else that's talking to white folks now that has these jobs now, you wouldn't have it if OJ didn't break that barrier with that crossover. He did that back in the 70s with that crossover appeal to white folks commercially. All right, he's still a hero to me, and God, may he rest in peace. Thank you so much for doing this tonight.
Thank you for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say, look, the bottom line is we're talking about beyond the shadow of a reasonable doubt. And at every step along the way, you got doubts. And when Mark Ferman hits the damn stand, Mark Ferman should have been able to be a slam dunk to put OJ in prison. Mark Ferman got on the stand, and when you're asked, if you believe the evidence, the problem we have is the detective who was in charge of the evidence sat there and told you, don't ask me if I planted the evidence. I plead the fifth. At that point, the evidence is neutralized at that point. The lead detective won't even stand by the evidence. So unless your rule is I'm white and I say so, damn the evidence. The lead detective won't stand by the evidence. Well, y'all need to stand by it. How can you do that and the lead detective won't? Call from area code 818. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Ryan Neal from Palmdale.
All right, Ryan from Palmdale. Where?
From Palmdale, California.
All right, Palmdale, California. What's on your mind?
No, my thoughts on the O.J. Simpson thing, if you look at it, how is he going to kill two people in that amount of time, that short amount of time, and then end up with one scratch? And like how everybody was saying, they didn't look into Nicole, like you were saying, the Mezzaluna restaurant, the drug use. And then when I was younger, I was like 13 when the O.J. Simpson thing came out, the trial. And I always wondered, like, how did the blood wind up in the Bronco if he didn't do it? And I was listening to Tariq Nasheed's program, like he volunteered to give his blood to the police, and seeing how the police have planted like evidence and stuff. Well, who's to say they couldn't plant the blood in the Bronco? But no one looks at that. I just wanted to say that.
No, I mean, they do look at that kind of thing there. It's just, okay, whatever they say, that's what it is. When you're black, everybody gets on code. When you are black, they get on code, and then everything starts pointing to you, no matter how improbable it is. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get call from area code 970. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, I'm Tess. I'm calling from Vail, Colorado.
All right, Tess from Vail, Colorado. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I have a lot of observations. I've been able to do a lot of research at home. Basically, I've been raising kids for 20 years. I get to do a lot of research online. There's a documentary about the family of Nicole's drug dealer. He was a psychopath. And his family came forward and logically concluded that he was the killer. Nicole died with another man's DNA under her nails. Ron Goldman, he was bound up Colombian ranchero death knot style. His bonds were not like that. Y'all got to wake up. This was like on YouTube for a number of years. I don't know if it's there anymore. But, I was able to do that, and I'm a housewife. I could look that up.
Well, definitely, if you look into those things closer there, you start finding out there's more information. And certainly the real issue is if the police were doing all this, it wouldn't, and they don't even know big ass damn mystery. There's always a big mystery when something is covered up involved. Remember, folks, when the police and the authorities have all the evidence, when they actually got the truth on their side, they don't cover up nothing. They throw it out there from the very beginning. When they got something to cover up, it takes you years and decades to find out what the hell really happened. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 832. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yo, what's going on, Jason? Out of Houston, Texas. It's Jay.
All right, Jay. Out of Houston, what's on your mind?
What's going on, man? Hey, thanks for accepting my call. Hey, I want to actually address. I didn't decide to call you until I heard somebody else call. So somebody else said that OJ was trying to cover up for his son, right? So if that is the case, do they know that DNA testing came out like, I believe, 1987 or something like that? And if that is true, then when if your son did it and they DNA test you, then you guys will have a close coordination in the DNA sample that, you know what I'm saying, like, it will say that it's a close family relative.
Well,
so
all these things came up before everybody. All these things they're mentioning here: OJ's son, Al Cowlings. Marcus Allen, all these things were the subject of intense investigation and scrutiny at the time of the killings.
Right.
And the bottom line is none of them ever went anywhere. The only one that you could possibly try to point to was OJ himself. And as we saw, the more you look at that, you don't actually get anything solid. What that leads you to is one conclusion. Certainly she was killed. Certainly Ron Goldman was killed in cold blood. What you really end up with is, okay, somebody with powerful ability and motive were in charge of doing that. And they don't want to answer that question because it's LA. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Hey, y'all, remember, here we are decades later. We still don't have a positive thing for Tupac, Biggie, and nothing else. Decades later, O.J. Simpson had problems in Las Vegas and Los Angeles. Decades later, Biggie killed in Los Angeles, Pac killed in Las Vegas. You still ain't got no answers yet. Still no answers yet. Now, we all know Baby Lane did it. But by the way, it ain't really no answers yet, by the way. No official answers yet, decades later. Am I the only one who sees a similarity here? Call from area code 973. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? This is Najee from out of Edison, New Jersey.
All right, Najee out of Edison. What's on your mind?
You know what's also? Hey, what's going on? You know what's also? Just listening to this is real. Interesting hearing some people take. It's a lot of assumptions and not knowing. So during that time, the people who fully watched that trial believed that OJ was innocent. The people who was watching news coverage,
thank you,
CNN and the likes, thought OJ was guilty.
Yes.
Right? So even when you say that people don't even know, and this was admitted in the trial, OJ turned himself in after the murder. And when he turned himself in, and the reason why they didn't play his interview, because OJ said, hey, listen, you have access to my guns. You can check all my guns. At that time, OJ didn't know that they had their throats slashed. OJ also said, you can go in the house. When you go in the house, remember, that's my ex-wife. So my DNA is going to be all over the house. OJ didn't know that the murders took place outside. Now, the guy that said that if it wasn't for Mark Ferman, OJ would have been convicted. No, he wouldn't have, because the only thing that placed OJ Simpson on the scene of the crime was the glove. Because without that glove, the timeline didn't match. You didn't have enough time to murder somebody in 20 minutes. And when you're talking about somebody having their throat slit, there's blood everywhere. So he didn't have enough time. He's 6 miles away. That's not enough time to go home, get rid of all them clothes, wash all the blood off, and make it to the airport to get to Chicago.
Well, I mean, the vehicle that he was in would have been drenched in her blood and Ron Goldman.
It'd have been drenched in blood.
There's no way, wherever he was driving, there would have been blood everywhere. That's why you only 2 drops. This is what I'm saying. So basically, here we are hit again with the super nigga accusation. Whether it's Mike Brown, O.J. Simpson, Michael Jackson, whoever you name it, for us, it's when we commit a crime, allegedly, we got a damn cape. We can fly across the country in 3 seconds. We can walk through walls. We can walk through water and not get wet. That's the kind of crimes they accuse of. Well, of course you do. Oh, yes, and of course, and if we commit suicide, we shoot ourselves in the back of the head 3 times. Whenever America talks about us, things just get stupid.
Real stupid. And again, like I said, there wasn't no motive. You know what I mean? This man wasn't with this woman. So just imagine you just wake up one day and say, I'm going to kill my ex-wife or my girlfriend from 2 years ago, and I'm already dealing with another woman. It really just didn't make any sense. And F. Lee Belly, the lawyer of O.J. Simpson, said this. He said there wasn't a prosecutor that could have won that case because there wasn't a mountain of evidence. So what's real interesting is that we see what the media is about today. The media hasn't changed. They've been the same that they were today. They was that yesterday. So again, this was a power play. Even Jeffrey Toobin, F. Lee Bailey said that. Now, mind you, most people look at that Netflix series, The People Against OJ. Oh, and if you listen to that, you're going into the mind of Jeff Tubin, who in 2020 got caught on the Zoom call masturbating. He's the one that turned the coin the race card that was doing the OJ trial, because once they start basically showing Mark Ferman's questionable racist history, they tried to make that seem like the highlighting factor. Mark Ferman wasn't even a leading detective. He basically propelled himself on that in that case because he's the one that allegedly found the glove. He wasn't the lead detective. So without the glove, you had no case. That's why when they said, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit, because that's the only piece of evidence that they had. There wasn't this mountain of evidence. So people need to kind of like turn off the TV and really start reading books. You know what I'm saying? And when you read these books objectively, because Jeffrey Tubin, according to F. Lee Bailey, he wasn't even inside the courtroom half the time to even know what was going on. I close.
Okay, well, definitely in Mark Ferman's case here, Mark Ferman was definitely one of the lead people on that case. He was one of the guys who, yeah, he did get the bloody glove, but he was also very, very responsible for investigating that. So we cannot downplay Mark Ferman's involvement in that. Mark Ferman, if Mark Ferman wasn't just somebody who was visiting the crime scene, he was not just on a vacation doing that. Mark Ferman was very, very pivotal to that. If Mark Ferman were not, then the prosecution could have gone ahead and discredited him and kept moving. Mark Ferman's testimony was damning because he was involved in so much.
Right. No, I wasn't saying that he went, but the initial there was two lead detectives in the beginning. What I'm saying is what brought him to the case was finding the glove, because he was that thirsty to get on the case. Outside of that, if he didn't find a glove, he wouldn't have been basically so instrumental.
Yeah, his profile certainly wouldn't have. He certainly was the guy trying to push the narrative about blood droplets. He was certainly the guy trying to push the narrative about the glove. He was certainly the guy trying to push the narrative about what it would take to kill them. Mark Ferman was very, very instrumental in that part of it. You make a very good point that if you remove, well, here's the thing. If you remove Mark Ferman, I'm still thinking they would have gone ahead and tried to go with the glove anyway, because that's all they had. Mark Ferman just went so deep off into it that what it helped you to do, and this is when you know you got a good attorney, Mark Ferman helped to crystallize the LAPD and their tactics and what they would do. The LAPD had no problem putting Mark Ferman front and center, putting him on TV, putting him on the stand, having you talk to him. They had no problem with that right up until those recordings happened. Then all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, you got to go. Just that quickly. All of a sudden, now he's no good.
Sorry. I was going to say the only person prosecuted on that case was Mark Ferman, too, for perjury. So just to note.
I'm telling you, it's been so long. I forgot about that part. You're absolutely correct about that. Hey, Megyn Kelly. By the way, Mark Ferman's testimony was so inconsequential that occurred. So thank you very much. I've forgotten about that. Ferman did face consequences as a result of perjury. Now, I don't think they really did much to him. When you're white and you commit perjury, you can get up there and talk about lying while you on your head doing a handstand. But definitely in Ferman's case, like I say, this guy was just doing everything and everybody was fine with him. Everything was great with him. He's hero cop. They were trying to make him look like damn me Dirty Harry. They were trying to make him look like the greatest cop in America. That's what they were doing at the time. O.J. Simpson did not have sorcerers and wizards and warlocks on his legal team. He just had some people who could read and were not ignoring evidence. Also, by the way, because the trial was so public, the judge couldn't really get away with a bunch of funny business either. Now, I don't know what kind of judge. By the way, that was the thing in Los Angeles. They had 2 Asian judges, as if that would, make everything okay. But here we go. Remember, like, the first judge for the preliminary stuff was Asian, and then they brought Ito was the trial judge. So, I mean, they were like, okay, if we got anybody who ain't black or white, see if he's working dockets this week. Anybody else? So the first fellow was like, okay, I'm about old and get ready to retire. I'm gone. So Ito was sitting there like, I'll be damned. I'm too young to retire just yet. Let me just keep my head down and hope it don't get too bad up in here, because so much for being a quiet judge in L.A. But, yeah, man, I'm telling you. Sure did. Absolutely. So, and Judge Ito didn't play a bunch of funny business during the trial. So, can you imagine? I want you all to think about this for a few moments. Could you imagine if this had been Judge Schrader? Damn! Remember the Kyle Rittenhouse case? Could you all imagine if it wasn't Judge Ito, if it was Judge Schrader from the Kyle Rittenhouse case? Could you imagine what that trial would have been like with him there? So yeah, the right attorneys and impartial, unbiased judge, or at least one who wasn't interfering in the case, because I can show you some judges, they show up and all of a sudden things go crazy. Call them area code 516. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Brother Jason. It's Adam calling from Queens, New York.
All right, Adam from Queens. What's on your mind?
Nothing much. I mean, I'm kind of happy that brother brought that up, because that was definitely one of my key points. He definitely did. He was the only one on that trial that got penalized for anything. And secondly, I don't know what other job you can go to and be recorded saying that you hate seeing black people and niggers and this, that, and the third, being with a white lady, and it just fuels your blood and you want to do this and that and the third to them. And not only not anything happened to you, but Mark Ferman got promoted after that.
Yeah.
People, so that brother talking about, oh, he could have been a plant those, that was before OJ was even in this man's midst. He was on that bullshit. So come on, man. Cut that house nigga shit out, please.
Yeah, I mean, there were a bunch of them who go way back. Remember Daryl Gates, Chief Daryl Gates, Mark Ferman. There's a bunch of them dudes who are on the LAPD, have been there for years and decades, involved in a bunch of hinky racial stuff, and they've just been there forever. And those are the ones who moved up the ranks. They moved up the ranks. If you in Los Angeles, if you ain't a racist cop or a dirty cop, I don't think you can get promoted. I don't think you can get it. You're too clean. Nobody there trusts you. The police officers don't trust you if you ain't dirty or crooked. They don't trust you. And with that being the circumstances, okay, when you get arrested, dude, that's it. The fix is in. The fix is already in. I'll let you have the last word.
Well, all right, cool. But for all the brothers that are calling in and saying that, I'm noticing one thing, and it's just like what you said. It's not when you see with the media, it's not what they're saying, it's what they're not. And just like you said, they're not bringing up a drug use. They're not bringing up the murders that was looked like Colombian or drug related crimes. None of that is coming out of their mouth. It's just very funny. And I land my plane there. Be one, brother.
B1, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 904. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Sean from Jacksonville, Florida.
Sean from Jacksonville, what's on your mind?
I just want to say, I think people really don't understand how lucrative the O.J. Simpson industry was. And my question to you is it more or less lucrative now that he's passed? Rest in peace, O.J. Simpson.
Very glad you mentioned that there, as a matter of fact, here. Let me go ahead and discuss the O.J. Simpson industry. For those of you who did not know here, the 720 degrees of analysis you'll receive absolutely nowhere else. This here in from page 6, your favorite gossip mag here. This was as of yesterday. O.J. Simpson ran this is the title now. Take a look at it on your screens. O.J. Simpson ran a ring of all-cash business deals to hide proceeds from victims' families by Ole Coleman. O.J. Simpson was screwing the families of his victims till the very end, it seems. This is page 6. Yes, this is all very unbiased here. The fallen football star, really, famously skated for the 1994 murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Totally unbiased here. Totally unbiased. No historical revisionism here at all. But the year after his 1995 criminal trial, he was found liable for both the deaths, and he was supposed to pay the families $33 million in damages. Most of his income was supposed to go toward paying off this vast sum. But page 6 is told that Simpson made a decent living after his 2017 release from jail on an unrelated charge, but paid the Brown and Goldman families virtually nothing by running a substantial ring of all-cash business dealings. We're told that the one-time NFL and Hollywood star made most of his money by doing private autograph signings and demanding stacks of bills for things like podcast appearances, and even charging people to play golf with him. Quote, he would sign anything except anything that had to do with the trial or murder, we're told. The stipulation was always he had to be paid in cash. Now, you think about that for a few moments. This is how much of a grudge they were holding to this very damn day. You don't hear folk talk this way about Michael Milken. You don't hear folk talk this way about the Wolf of Wall Street. What's his name? Belfort. You don't hear them talking that way about them. Hear these folks show up. I can show you mega billionaire corporations been killing folks by the thousands. Ain't that right, Exxon, Monsanto, who just got their debt reduced by a judge. He just cut theirs by 2/3. And yet for O.J. Simpson, they're like, now we'll be damned. He's skirting and flouting the law. Why, he's getting all his money all cash. Ain't that interesting? Now, why are they so worried and concerned about him? By the way, I'm wondering, they talking about civil trials and whatnot? Black folk got civil cases against the police and against white supremacists. We ain't got ours yet. Just a thought. But yes, sir, the O.J. Simpson business is the business of being anti-black. And business will always be good. Brother, they still making money off of lying on Michael Jackson. If you think that dying is going to prevent these folks from profiting off of O.J. Simpson, they still making money off of lying on Michael Jackson. They're lying on Michael Jackson to this day and still making money off of it. So that's my response to that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Oh, business going to roll on. Because this is not about OJ or Michael. This is about black folk. So they're going to keep cashing in. No, they're not going to let a little thing like death stop them from making money off of you. No way. Just the fact you're dead doesn't mean you can't be profitable. Caller from area code 713. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, this is Tony from Houston.
Tony from Houston. What's on your mind, brother?
Well, actually, I'm glad you're doing this this broadcast this evening. I'm very glad. The only thing I can say about the O.J. Simpson trial, for me, it gave America, particularly black people, an opportunity to see what you can get from the law when you can pay for it. Black people know everything about getting arrested, going to court, sitting in for hearings and all that. We know. Black people always go to jail, period. They're always found guilty. If they're not, and most of the time, 95% of all cases in New York City are plea bargained. So whether the black man did anything or not, they're going to railroad him to take a plea bargain. They threaten him with, if you don't take the plea bargain, you'll get double the time. But I didn't do it. That's not the case. That's not important. So black people know all about plea bargaining. You walk out of there, you didn't do the crime, but now you got a case. Now you got a jacket because you were scared. You couldn't afford an attorney. O.J. Simpson could afford to fight the state of California, and that gave black people an opportunity to see what you can get. You get discovery. You get expert witness testimony. You can afford your own private investigators. You can afford competent legal representatives. And guess what? When you can afford it, your chances of being acquitted, whether you're guilty or not, goes up exponentially. And that gave black people an opportunity to see that it's not always you're arrested, you're guilty. If you can afford it, you get justice. Because the law has a lot of resources available for the guilty to be acquitted, as well as the innocent to be acquitted.
You know, that's a very good point there. When you walk into court, the whole thing is about getting you convicted. And when you are black, the entire goal is to get you into the system. Doesn't matter how rich, doesn't matter how poor. We are bringing you in because this is the execution of the 13th Amendment. This is the continuance of the execution of the 13th Amendment, and every single municipality in America, its goal is to get black people into the system, specifically black men, to get you documented in the system. And then they're like, okay, because we ain't never going to stop messing with you, so we just need to get you in here once. Now we've got you documented, DNA, fingerprints, every damn thing else. From here, we just need to find something to pin on you that we can put you in jail for. That's all we got to do now.
That's right.
That's it.
That's all they have to do. We are the racial cleansing that's going on in Gaza. White America does not care about ethnic and racial cleansing. That's how this country started. They don't care. So that's why white America does not object to what the Jews are doing. They are doing the same thing to us as black people, specifically black men. Everybody hates us. Our mothers hate us. Our sisters hate us. Black women hate us. White people hate us. The judges hate us. The prosecutors hate us. The educators hate us. Everyone hates a black man. Everyone. And that's why the people who are crowing and happy that OJ died, look, we all got to go. But if that was a white man or a black woman, and black men as a group were throwing parties and having a good time because that person, we'd be wrong for that. But everybody can hate a black man. Everybody, and everybody does. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. And the Goldmans, O.J. Simpson's lawyers said that his goal, he's going to try to prevent them from being able to take O.J.'s estate. So, no, they still after him. Caller from area code 702, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Maine calling out of Richmond.
All right, Maine out of Richmond, Virginia. What's on your mind?
Yeah, man, I just want to say rest in peace to O.J. Simpson and condolences to his family. And a lot of people they talk about the Mark Ferman thing as the main reason that O.J. was acquitted, but people forget that the jury wasn't even in the courtroom to witness him plead the fifth when asked if he manufactured any evidence in that case. You know, there's some kind of law about the jury not being able to be present when somebody is pleading the fifth. So they were still in the chambers for that. But of course, they ended up hearing about it. We know. But a lot of people also forget that the other piece of evidence that was heavily touted against O.J. was a pair of socks that had the victim's blood on it. But it was found that the blood was actually poured on the socks. And Detective Philip Van Adder was walking around from crime scene to crime scene with a vial of O.J.'s blood and the victim's blood. And how I found out that this blood was pouring onto the sock was because when they tested the blood, it had a preservative in it called EDTA. Now, ETA is something that is not found in the human body. It's found in a test tube where blood vials, and it's used to keep the blood loose. So how did this chemical end up in the blood unless it came from a test tube? Now, these are things that the jury heard, but the general public didn't hear about this. So there's many instances where they found that evidence manufactured, not just about Ferman taking the glove.
Well, I mean, no, they've been. What that illustrates to you is they've been used, like this female cop who just planted alcohol on this black man there. They're used to doing things like that for so long They're used to being able to get away with that for so long. And the media, of course, rubber stamps it. They got used to that for so long that they had gotten accustomed to the idea that nobody's going to ask any questions about this. Nobody's going to question it. So they get bold, they get brazen, because you have to. If you're going to contaminate a crime scene and frame somebody going to have to get out there in front and do it. Somebody's going to have to take a risk and get out in front and take a chance. And once that occurs, they got you. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. By the way, I want to go over this real quick here. I still got a bunch of phone calls I'm going to try to get through here. I want to go through this right quick from ESPN. O.J. Simpson estate to fight payouts to Brown Goldman families. Check this out. Simpson's will was filed Friday in a Clark County court in Nevada, naming his longtime lawyer, Malcolm Laverne, as the executor. The document shows Simpson's property was placed into a trust that was created this year. Laverne told the Las Vegas Review-Journal that the entirety of Simpson's estate has not been tallied. Now listen to this next part. Under Nevada law, an estate must go through the courts if its assets exceed $20,000. Simpson died Wednesday without having paid the lion's share of the civil judgment that was awarded in 1997 after jurors found him liable. They love doing that until black folks show up. When we show up and talk about juries holding folk liable, the news media stops talking. Laverne, who had represented Simpson since 2009, said he specifically didn't want the Goldman family seeing any money from Simpson's estate. Quote, "It's my hope that the Goldmans get zero, nothing," he told the Review-Journal. "Them specifically, and I will do everything in my capacity as the executor or personal representative to try and ensure that they get nothing." Laverne did not immediately return phone calls. He don't need to talk to Associated Press. Although the Brown and Goldman families have pushed for payout, Laverne said there was never a court order forcing Simpson to pay the civil judgment. I would like to have more information on that, by the way. Although the Brown and Goldman families have pushed for payment, Laverne said there was never a court order forcing Simpson to pay the civil judgment. The attorney told the Review-Journal that his particular ire at the Goldman family stemmed in part from the events surrounding Simpson's planned book titled If I Did It. Goldman's family won control of the manuscript and retitled the book If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer. Did you get that? So just understand they ain't letting that go. One last thing down here. Simpson said that he lived only, the Goldman and Brown families will be on at least equal footing with other creditors and will probably have an even stronger claim as Simpson's estate is settled under terms established by the trust created in January. The will lists his 4 children and notes that any beneficiary who seeks to challenge provisions of the will, quote, shall receive free of trust $1 and no more in lieu of any claimed interest in this will or its assets. Simpson said he lived only on his NFL and private pensions. Hundreds of valuable possessions had been seized as part of the jury award, and Simpson was forced to auction his Heisman Trophy, fetching $230,000. So if you want to know how that was chugging along, now you have an idea. Caller from area code 415, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Marcus from San Francisco.
Marcus from San Francisco. What's on your mind?
Hey, do you believe that from the time they prosecuted him in '94, all the black people were supporting him? He had an overwhelming majority in America to the time of even in 2013, where I was hearing black people talk about how the jury made a mistake. So my question to you is, do you think that, as you talked about the 5 steps of Nazi Germany, you think that applies to OJ in this case?
I mean, not really. I mean, I'm not sure what black folk you were referring to or talking to. You always got some folks who say, "That's the problem right there. O.J. Simpson shouldn't be mentioned when you meet him." But the bottom line here is that black people did not support O.J. We were not there in 1994 and 95 supporting O.J. We were opposing the system. That's what we were doing. Nobody was going to light a fire, stomp, protest, tear nothing. Wasn't nobody going to do that for O.J. Simpson. We were against an unjust system because we knew if the roles had been reversed and O.J. Simpson was a white man and Nicole Brown was a black woman, O.J. never would have even been arrested, much less questioned. They never would have done that. So we were not supporters of O.J. Simpson. We were supporters of justice. And O.J. Simpson was part of our voice to express that we were not going to support injustice. But don't get it twisted. Nobody was an O.J. Simpson fan. Nobody was. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Folks, don't get it twisted. Nobody was an O.J. Simpson fan. Nobody was sitting up here. Boy, folks remembered him from the NFL, don't get me wrong. But folks weren't in Los Angeles talking about, that was my dude right there. He the man. And that was never happening. O.J. Simpson was symbolic in that regard. But no, nobody was sitting around talking about O.J. Simpson, they dude, and getting ready to sit up here and go to jail and light things on fire for O.J. No, that was never the case. And that made the media even more angry because we were focused on the system itself and showed we can make changes. Call from area code 469. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
It's Thomas calling from Dallas, Texas.
Thomas from Dallas. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Jason. I thank God for Johnny Cochran, man. I mean, whoever told OJ to get that lawyer, man, that was a blessing in disguise because I mean, the lawyers that we have now is pitiful. I mean, you'll never see another Johnny Cochran ever again. I mean, when he chose Johnny Cochran, trial was over because Johnny Cochran pulled his heart out. He pulled everything into that trial, man. Is that he put his career on the line for OJ. And what people don't understand, Johnny Cochran he's like the lawyer god of you'll never see that again. It's like seeing an eclipse.
Well, here's the thing. Remember, I think Michael Jackson had Cochran, OJ had Cochran, Geronimo Pratt, P. Diddy, he represented a number of prominent people. But if you'll remember when Michael Jackson had to go back to trial, he had Tom Mazzaro. The lesson of Johnny Cochran was that if black folk actually have an adequate defense, we ain't gonna get railroaded so much. That was the takeaway that everybody realized after that is, by the way, if O.J. Simpson was Leroy Jenkins fighting child support, there wouldn't have been a trial. He had an adequate defense, and the fact that you can question all this evidence all these decades later, there's your proof. Wow, how many other black men are sitting in prison simply because you live in a court system that doesn't give you an adequate defense if you can't afford it? That you can be railroaded into prison is basically a debtor's prison. If you ain't got the money, you can be railroaded into prison on the most ridiculous, unscrupulous of charges. That was the real takeaway from it. Not so much that he had fabulous lawyers, but that he had the resources to at least not get railroaded. And then you take a look at Michael Jackson and others. Yeah, they actually had the resources to not get railroaded. And what it did was it highlighted the plight of the rest of black society. It's like, by the way, we ain't got the means to do that. As a group, we don't really have the means to do that. We get caught up. It's just really highlighted how easy it is to railroad black folk in America simply because everybody knows the truth. Oh, they don't have the money to defend themselves. So if you accuse them of something, you're already 9/10 to incarcerating them simply because they don't have the means to defend themselves. I mean, think about OJ. That trial went on for a year? And think about that for a few moments. Yep. A year. How many folk can sit up here and afford to defend themselves against the full weight of the state of California for a year? A year. That was the part that put the spotlight on it for us. I'll let you have the last word.
And also going back to the murder scene, I mean, you talking about two people cut throat from ear to ear. You know how much blood that man would have had on him in the car, on his clothes, on his body. No way you can cut two people's necks from ear to ear and walk away with specks of blood in your car. Impossible. I mean, it just doesn't. That just didn't make any sense. So we knew from the start that was a setup. The police was trying to was frame him.
But
I mean,
they know who did that. The LAPD knows who killed Nicole Brown. They know who killed Ron Goldman. They wanted to make this a twofer. They want to kill two birds with one stone. They want to get OJ, and then we'll come back later and get the other killers and whatnot. That was the whole thing about it in Los Angeles, in America in general, but you see it continuing this day. If you're a black person who's got some money and made a name for yourself, you are public enemy number one. You are target number one. And if there is any means by which we can come and snag you at some point, we're coming for you. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. They know who did that. They know who did it today. But now they can't do it because they weren't able to get OJ, or if they do get the real killers, they've already arrested them on unrelated charges, but they're never going to point to them as being the ones who did this. Mark my words. Call from area code 5415. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Ivan out of Oakland.
Ivan out of Oakland, what's on your mind?
Yeah, your assertion that this whole thing is a industry is well taken. And you know, the thing I have to look at is 1994 timeline. Football was probably struggling, and they invited the World Cup in. So the football industry, maybe you look at it from conjecture and coincidence, and now 2026. San Francisco 49ers are hosting the Super Bowl. So the question is, from a larger view, that football, maybe the World Cup, have something to do with this whole thing.
Not so sure about that. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller Miracle 510. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Mr. Jason Black. This is Black Voltron calling out of deep East Oakland, California.
All right, Black Voltron, back to back in Oakland. What's on your mind, brother?
Yes, sir. First of all, I want to thank you for taking my call and having this broadcast. And I want to say rest in peace to Orenthal James Simpson, pride of Potrero Hill Project, San Francisco, California, Bay Area dude. And, I was having a conversation with my daughter and just realizing that, number one, I'm an old ass nigga, but this actually happened when I was her age, literally 30 years ago. And I don't think the young people really have a true context of how impactful this case was, not only to the nation, but to the world. I mean, let's put things in perspective here. Now, we're just coming off, a couple years earlier, NWA, fuck the police, LAPD, the Rodney King video, and then the verdict and riot that just happened. And, LA, really all the state of California was on edge. The nation was on edge. And I don't think people really put into context as how on code we were as foundational Black Americans for the OJ trial. I mean, from 94 with that slow speed 405 chasing the white Bronco, all the way up to the decision. I mean, this was literally the Super Bowl, Major League Baseball, World Series, NBA Finals, and the Olympics, and literally Dr. King assassination all wrapped up into one. I don't think anything became even that big up until September 11th. 2001.
That's a thing right there, because I want to interject here for a moment. O.J. Simpson wasn't somebody who was on the tip of black folks' tongues in 1993 and 94. We wasn't all sitting around, I wonder what O.J. Simpson doing. I love them naked gun movies. We weren't doing that. The media chose to amplify him and turn him into the greatest football player ever, which he wasn't. The media chose to use him as their mascot and as a proxy for us. But O.J. Simpson was not some hero in black society that we were all sitting around. The way we talk about Michael Jordan, we wasn't talking about O.J. Simpson like that. You had to barely remember him. So the media went out of their way to amplify him. And I'm suggesting you all right here tonight, if the media had not done that, if they had simply treated him like what he was, an old washed-up retired football player, they could have got him in prison. He could have gone to prison then. They went so hard-body and so blatantly to make him an example. Hey, you niggas, this is for 1991. They went so hard-bodied that they galvanized us in a different way. Now, I didn't live in Los Angeles at the time, but I am going to say the sentiment, as far as I could see, was not the same as it had been in 91. Folks wasn't really on a burn, baby, burn for O.J. Simpson. But when the media put him in the spotlight, everybody galvanized, but not in a burn, baby, burn way. Everybody galvanized in the court system. O.J. Simpson would have had all the access to all the money, all the lawyers. So people were supporting him in the courtroom. I think that's something that they didn't understand. They didn't reckon on that happening. The energy was different. It was revolutionary. It was confrontational, but it wasn't on a we gonna light some things up. It was on all eyes are on supporting him. So the closest analog I can give to that is Kyrie Irving. What they tried to do with Kyrie Irving a couple of years ago. Folks wasn't talking about burning nothing up, but folks were talking about ain't gonna be no railroad. And in my opinion, I think that's what occurred. Go ahead.
And I concur because, we implicitly knew that, okay, OJ was out here cooning with the white women and stuff like that. So we wasn't, like you said, we weren't tripping really on OJ. It was OJ represents me. Now, if they could come after OJ with all his money, with all this fame and fortune that they supported him in the white media, and now they coming down on him, what they gonna do to my little old black ass? They gonna fuck me up because I'm not gonna have a dream team to defend myself like OJ does. So I looked at it as they're trying to crush the head of a snake. And if we could do this to OJ, we could get every single one of you foundational black American niggas up out there.
And that was what we understood from sea to shining sea. It didn't matter where you were in America. All of us understood that part. And that's what galvanized us. If they hadn't been so damn blatant, and if they just hadn't been so shameless with it, they could have gotten away with it a lot easier. I'm talking about with all the shenanigans they did. If they just hadn't put the spotlight on him, brother, I don't think we would have paid nearly as much attention if they hadn't gone so hard by making this the trial of the century. We wouldn't have paid that much attention. They went so hard for it, and then we said, we got to go harder. Once they did that, we're like, now we got to go harder. And they got what they came for.
They pumped it up to the point where it blew up in their faces. Now, 1995, in context, death row is blowing up. Tupac, for the verdict, I think it was like Tuesday, October 3rd, 1995.
No, the West Coast was carrying the energy. The West Coast was carrying the energy in 1995, y'all. From 1992 to 1997, the West Coast was carrying the energy for Black America. It was carrying it.
For sure. And let me tell you, Jason, that day for the verdict, my black ass happened to be a young elevator escalator apprentice. And, of course, I happened to be at Hewlett-Packard in Palo Alto for the verdict, taking a trouble call. Now, when we're just handling our business and stuff, and all the noise of the facility was just going, just loud, just people talking, da-da-da-da-da. And when somebody announced the OJ verdict's about to happen, you could hear a mouse pissing on cotton. It got so quiet. I couldn't believe it. It was like a sealed mausoleum. Everybody ran to the radios. Everybody ran to the TV, and we just listening all at once. And it's like when they announced that he was not guilty, you can hear the yelps and whoops. I'm going like, hell yeah, pumping my fist. And you should have saw the faces of all them white folks down there. They look just like we did when the Rodney King verdict happened in 92.
Emmett Till, Rodney King. We can go down the damn list naming them.
Dude, they was mad as hell. You could just feel the energy. They were just looking at me with this anger. They wanted to lynch me right then and there. I'm like, I wish you fucking would. Fuck with me if you want to and stuff. I heard a couple brothers and sisters yelping and hollering and hooping. I'm like, I don't know if they should have did that, because I know they black asses finna get laid off next week, next month and stuff. They're going to come up with an excuse to fire them and lay it off. But, that was a monumental moment in black history and in American history that I don't think the young people truly get. This was humongous. This was like viral before there was, viral on the internet and stuff. This was worldwide. And we had Court TV, Nancy Grace, talking all that bullshit and stuff, hyping it up. Then it just blew up in their faces. And you can see it on the news and the white media. Your everyday white folks stopped talking to black folks and stuff. I had people at my job just got real quiet and stuff like that. They were blabbing their mouth about the OJ trial. Next day, they didn't say shit. They just quiet.
What you find out is there's a difference between a news story and a media story. And O.J. Simpson was a media story, something that the media was interested in to use for their own purposes. And it became a news story. And then from there, it was totally out of their hands. You make an excellent point. If they want to know what the zeitgeist was about that, look it up. You want to know what captured popular consciousness. Like I say, for those who were not there, they don't remember Black Voltron. From 91 to 97, when the West Coast spoke, the rest of Black America listened. So folk don't understand that the West Coast was really carrying that. All your major communication apparatus was really, as among Black folk, was really out the West Coast. So when they spoke, we listened. When Rodney King went down, the West Coast was speaking. The rest of Black America listened. So we talk about the universities and Berkeley and whatnot and how that sets the tone in America for academia with radical thought and stuff like that. In the 90s, the West Coast was really setting the tone for what the rest of us did. So from there on in, when the West started focusing on OJ, everybody else starts focusing on it then. That's just how powerful it was. So when you talk about Ruthless Records, Death Row, and all that, because it goes a whole lot bigger now. You're talking about King T and DJ Quick and Conscious Most Wanted. We can go down the damn list. The West Coast set the tone that everybody else was talking about. It doesn't shift to the South till about 4-5 years later. And when it became about OJ, we was on code. Because the West Coast knew how to get everybody on code. When they move this way, we move that way. That's the way it was. And in this case right here, it wasn't about burning nothing up. It was about, okay, we're not going to let this happen right here. And they would have been so much better off, brother, if they had just not done that. They could have got OJ in prison if they hadn't said we're going to have a lynching. If they hadn't done that.
Yes.
There wasn't that much. The truth is there wasn't that much. Folks are going to try to disagree with it now, but I'm talking about, show me who was talking about O.J. Simpson in 1992.
Nobody.
Show me who was talking about O.J. Simpson in 1991, 1992. The Naked Gun movies, he was just a cameo in those films. Nobody was talking about O.J. Simpson in 91, 92, 93. Nobody was doing that. Somebody in the chat room said, we talking about Walter Payton. We talking about Emmitt Smith. We wasn't talking, nobody was talking about O.J. Simpson. Jerry Rice. Nobody was talking about O.J. Simpson. Yeah, we remembered him, but he wasn't this who had an O.J. Simpson t-shirt in 1990? Show me which one of y'all or your kinfolk had an O.J. Simpson t-shirt in 1990. Come on now. You didn't have it. It wasn't until the media said, we're going to elevate this nigger so we can lynch him. That's what they said. We're going to elevate him so we can lynch him, and that was when they screwed up. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, that again, OJ was, that was for me, that represented, I guess, would be, our on-code moment. And it was just really beautiful for me to see, like, God damn, we as foundational Black Americans, I wasn't saying foundational Black Americans during the trial and stuff like that, but, we as Black folks are actually forming that Black Voltron. We are coming together united as one. And it's like, I guess this is what the Black, having the Black Panthers around would have felt like, coast to coast. all that with East Coast, West Coast beefing, all that bullshit stopped. You know, all the little regional beefs was happening, that shit stopped. You know, the gang tripping and stuff like that. I mean, that kept going to a certain degree, but it's like for that day, all that shit stopped because we were like, you know, this better turn out right, or you know, it's gonna be some shit that's gonna happen. All right, so you know, they're not gonna railroad this brother again, right in front of our eyes. They blew this, they magnified this to infinity, and now they're just not gonna take this black man down. He represents us, and you know, there better be justice. We're not having this shit no more. So I appreciate you taking my call. And I appreciate that moment in time because, you know, the following week was like the Million Man March with Farrakhan and stuff like that. So, I mean, we were so on code then. And hopefully that we as black folks can get, you know, another moment like that. I think we're building towards reparations, which will be something even bigger. I pray that the next generation, the youngsters and stuff can, you know, take that baton and run with it. But, man, during that moment in time, man, we as black people, man, we had it. We actually had it, and you know, I appreciate being alive during that time, and I appreciate you taking my call. B1 to the fullest, Jason.
B1, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Hey, look, if we did it once, we can do it again. If we did it once, we can do it again. I've got, oh boy, a couple dozen calls up in here. I'm going to try to get through as many of these as I can. I got a bunch of calls on here, and we're going to run out of time here in a little bit. Let me go ahead and get called from area code 347. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from area code 347. Last try. You're on live. Caller from 347 has been abducted. Caller from area code 917. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm calling from Yonkers, New York. Darryl.
All right, Darryl from Yonkers, what's on your mind?
I want to point out, what's your take on CNN bringing all the coons out? And they also had Stephen A. Smith on there, too. What's your take on that? I know you witnessed it.
Yeah, I mean, they're showing you who their audience really is. They're showing you all that head faking and talking about black folk and damn that. They're showing you who their audience has always been. That's who their audience really is. That's what they're showing you. When it comes down to it, when their back is against the wall, when all eyes are on them, when it's time to decide how the society gets impacted or something that could change it, they're gonna show you who their audience really is. And that's what they're showing you now. This is who our audience really is. And it's the same as Fox and the rest of them. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 708. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Queen Imani.
All right, Queen Imani, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chicago, Illinois.
All right, Queen Imani from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Okay, I just want to say this. The day of the verdict, I was working downtown. I was the receptionist, and I worked amongst all white people, mostly white men, and they were taking bets that day on the verdict, right? And so I went to my boss and I said, well, hold on. I said, they making money off of this. They taking bets, so they had to stop it, right? So the border trade was closed off that day, and the verdict came in. And you know what the verdict was? And I was at lunch at the time. And the black people out there, I tell you, they were fist pumping each other. They would hug each other, and they were, you know, happy and everything. And the white folks, they had the somber faces. I mean, it was like a night and day difference, you know.
I mean, but remember, you're talking about Chicago, so you're talking about John Burge territory.
Yes.
So let's remember that in Chicago, Black Fred Hampton, all the way to John Burge. So that's what black folk was dealing with in Chicago. So hell no, a fair court system, I'll be damned. They know what it represented. So no, Chicago was already dialed in about a biased, bogus ass, illegitimate court system to begin with. There's nobody who wasn't feeling that was going on. There's nobody who hasn't been a victim of it. So hell yeah, they found the right place.
Yes, that's true.
Wow, I'm glad it turned out well in that regard. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Like I say, yeah, Chicago, no. Chicago knew it then. We just didn't have an internet where we could all talk to each other. See, there's where they really screwed up at. When we had to rely on CNN and ABC, they would go get some hand-picked niggas or some folks who ain't really connected to anything. I couldn't be here in Louisiana and talk to y'all in Chicago and say, hey, what's the vibe up there? Talk to y'all in Los Angeles. Hey, what's the vibe out there? Talk to you all in New York. What's the vibe over there in Miami? What's going on? Now we have the ability to bypass these corporate media apparatus and talk to each other directly. And what we found out is, hey, we all on the same wavelength. You're experiencing the same thing I'm experiencing. Only the difference is a geographic location. You're experiencing the exact same damn thing I'm experiencing. Once that got hooked up, oh, baby, it's on. You'll never be able to rewrite the narrative again because we can all talk to each other directly. Now it's on. Call from area code 763. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, my name is Valerie, and I'm calling you from Texas, from Dallas, Texas.
All right. Valerie from Dallas, what's on your mind?
I want to say two things I want to say. That Ron Goldman, during the O.J. Simpson trial, Ron Goldman's best friend got killed the same way that Nicole and Ron Goldman was killed. They showed his body. They didn't show his body. They showed his body covered up on the sidewalk in front of a restaurant. And then I waited to see if that was going to come on, if they're going to bring that into the trial, but nobody ever brought it into the trial. And for the young man that's in charge of O.J. Simpson's his estate, I think that needs to be brought up again about how Ron Goldman and them, they were killed the same way, that this man was killed the same way that those two were killed. And the second thing I want to say is about Mark Ferman. During Hurricane Katrina, Mark Goldman was there. Mark Ferman was there in New Orleans right after the hurricane. And Geraldo was interviewing him. And I said, what is he doing down there? And he said he lives in Utah. And then this young man came out after the hurricane. This one man came out of his house. And Mark Ferman said, oh, there's somebody you wouldn't invite to house for dinner. That's a drug dealer. I said, now how do you know somebody's a drug dealer? These are people's homes, And so I think that Mark Ferman still needs to be investigated because people started getting shot that was waiting in the floodwaters.
Yeah, definitely that kind of stuff there emboldened folk to do little slimy things like that for the ones who were susceptible to that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 469. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from area code 469. You're on live. Caller from 469 has been abducted. Caller from area code 470. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mr. Black, this is Mr. Bowden calling tonight from Carsville, Georgia.
All right, Mr. Bowden from Carsville, Georgia. What's on your mind?
Hey, sir. Well, three things. First, I want to respond to your title here. I couldn't wait to see you have a live stream on this. When is a black man innocent? Well, we innocent if we're not heard from, if we're not seen, if we're not, smelled, if we're not even thought of.
It's got to be that last one, brother. Yeah, it's not enough for you just not to be present. You got to be out of sight, out of mind, out of existence. Then you have greatly reduced your chances of being accused. But please remember, a few, 7-8 years ago, whatever, this white woman, this big fat white woman was accusing a black man of sexually assaulting her because she said she dreamt about it. Y'all remember that case?
Yeah.
Remember that case?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the killing part. She said that, and the killing part is, and the police were looking for him.
It's in her mind. That's what
60 seconds.
She outright telling you, I had a dream that this black fella raped me, and the police are like, okay, can you describe him? How big was he? How tall was he? What was his age? Where'd you meet him at there? Then they later, we wasn't really looking. What the hell? Why the hell were you taking any information from her? No, they were asking her, can you give us some details? Y'all remember that case? I do.
Yeah. Also, I want to piggyback off of what you and Black Voltron was talking about earlier. Shout out to Black Voltron, man. What I'm gonna say, the Bay Area, over there in California and everything. I want to point out also like the music that coming back in the '90s, going back in the '90s, like Death Row, Rufus, and everything. I want to reference the OG Spice One record, Kill 'Em All. He put in a lot of names that we just mentioned tonight on that record. Mark Ferman, Hallucinations, and seeing lynch bodies burning, and all the popos had faces like Mark Ferman, and I had to research him, see who he was, and it looks like he was a very staunch racist. They said it was recorded that he said the N-word like 41 times in the interview or something like that. He also mentioned Marsha Clark screaming out murder, jumping on OJD. That's type of music I couldn't hear back as a kid because I would have got my tail whooped.
No, back then we had a whole different thing going on there. Like I say, Ice Cube had done his song Wicked. So we had stuff that had a hold, and folks weren't trying to get leaned out and turned up and turned down and all this old silliness. It was a revolutionary spirit in that regard. Folks were on their toes. The music was actually elevating, which is why immediately right after that, let's go ahead and see if we can bring in druggy rap, and you know where it went from there. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I'm going to try to run through some calls here real quick because, like I say, otherwise Blog Talk is going to catch us here. I'm going to try to get some more. Let me get caller from area code 443. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, sir. This is Nando calling from Owings Mills, Maryland.
All right, Mando, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody really touched on this. I think you were alluding to it, but they already caught the killer. The killer's in jail. He killed two other people maybe shortly after he killed Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. You can Google this. I found this out late night watching a production on the ID channel. I was shocked that he even put it out there like this, but the guy's name is Glenn Rogers. He's known as the Casanova Killer. He killed Nicole, not intentionally, but OJ was told by Nicole that she was going to pawn some jewelry that OJ didn't want her to pawn. So he called on this Glenn Rogers guy to kind of break in the house and get the jewelry and retrieve it. On the way to doing that, he and Ron Goldman just happened to bump into each other. That's who he was fighting. He killed Nicole because she heard the commotion. The reason why OJ doesn't want the truth to come out is because if it did, he would go to jail definitely for being an accomplice to it. That's why he chose to go through the murder. Because if he didn't go through the murder, he was definitely going to jail for being an accomplice.
Okay, and the Glenn Rogers story, and that's been raised before. The only problem with that is where is Glenn Rogers?
He's in jail for two other murders.
Okay, and why? And so what was his motive for not naming OJ, sir?
Well, for not naming OJ, because that would bring OJ into going. He would go to jail.
Okay, why didn't Glenn say OJ sent me, sir?
Well, they didn't bring Glenn into this. They know, the police know that Glenn.
Okay, but sir, what I'm saying is that if Glenn Rogers could have flipped on OJ, he could have got himself out of jail, sir.
How could he get himself out of jail?
Because the Los Angeles, sir, this is O.J. Simpson we're talking about. This is O.J. Simpson. If this man had any sort of proof that O.J. set that up, set it into motion, they'd have been he could have got himself out for that alone. That right there by itself, you got evidence of that. It doesn't matter whether you in jail for other killers or not. You know what's happening with that one. Wait a minute, come on over here. They do that. I mean, take a look at mafiosos. They do that for mafiosos all the time, sir. Sammy the Bull, how many folks did he kill? Well, can you flip on Gotti? Okay, let's see if we can work something out for you. El Chapo, that's what they trying to do to him now. How many other folk you gonna flip on, even though you've been convicted? So if this dude had been convicted already, hey, I got OJ just sitting in his back pocket. Hey, I know what happened with OJ. So if it were the case that he could have leveraged that already. Thank you very much for giving us a call. And the Glenn Rogers thing, they mentioned Glenn Rogers decades ago, and as you can see, it doesn't really pan out. So Glenn Rogers, AC, is Marcus Allen, OJ's son. It's just a never-ending parade of alternative names. So that one's not new either. That's been around for decades too. The problem is it doesn't pan out under scrutiny. Call from area code 470. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Luke from Lithonia.
All right, Luke from Lithonia. What's on your mind?
You're coming towards your end. I'd like to end on some black love. His original queen never threw him underneath the bus, and she could have made the most money, more than anyone, if she had went against him and said that he was capable of this and did that. She never went against him.
Very true. She did not do that, and we noticed that at the time. By the way, we were talking about that back in the 90s. We were talking about that back then. Right. He stood up here running up behind Nicole, and you see all the women he ran up behind after that. By the way, the ride or die chick, the one who had the most to gain and the least to lose, and she was the one who stuck by the code the whole time. So keep that in mind. Very good point to make, brother. Very good point to make. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get caller from area code 804. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Ben, Hanover, Virginia.
All right, Ben in Hanover. What's on your mind?
Well, we're going to have to come to grips with two things. OJ was their guy. He wasn't our guy. He was more aligned with the ideology of the white folks than he was with black people of the day. He was more aligned with Jeffrey Toobin, as a matter of fact, the guy that coined the phrase race card, than he was with the everyday black person at that time. I think that's what made white America so upset about him even being accused or him even being involved with that in any way whatsoever. We also had to come to grips with this. White America is just fine with people like Ferman. They're just fine with them because they could always use them to, balance things out or to be a nemesis to black people. They have absolutely no problem with him coming in there, saying what he said, doing what he did, going about his business the way that he did. That sort of thing also scares a good number of black folks. I think a lot of the black commentators are fearful of this, that, their white friends, their white buddies, their white girlfriends and white wives and white husbands also agree with someone like Ferman, also align themselves with overlooking his racism just to get a shoddy case into a convicting.
There's a Mark Ferman in most of your police departments, court systems, academia, job offices. Mark Ferman is not some weird alien outlier. Mark Ferman is the rule. You could not have a system that targets black people so completely, so totally, so fully, so universally if Mark Ferman were not the rule and not the exception. Mark Ferman made the same mistake, although it was safer back then to do it. It's a lot less safe now. He made the same mistake they all made. You were too damn blatant. He getting recorded by some author and everything else. The only mistake he made is he was too damn blatant. If he hadn't been, OJ probably could have got convicted anyway. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 305. Keep your comments brief, y'all, because I'm running out of time on Blog Talk here. Caller from area code 305. What's your name? Where you calling from?
TBA, what's good? This is boy One Love 305 out of Miami.
All right, One Love out of Miami. What's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, two real quick points. I know you're running out of time. Yeah, white supremacists, just to redirect everything, because it's always their fault. White supremacists are always the one that only tell us, get over it. It happened a long time ago. But yet, look at your girl, Megyn Kelly. As soon as something happens, as soon as one of us dies, they bring up trials from a long time ago, i.e. Kobe, Michael Jackson, soon as they die. But just real quick, if you bring up and ask them white supremacists, what about Kyle Rittenhouse? What about George Zimmerman? They're going to say, well, they was on trial and they were found not guilty. See, so, and just the second point is, you brought it up, tying it in with the young people who wasn't there, who was 35 and, younger before the OJ trial. We didn't have social media. This was worldwide. This when you had to watch the TV. You had to watch the TV. Now, if you think about this name I'm going to bring up, Robert Blake. Remember Robert Blake?
Yeah, brother.
You want to talk about OJ? Yeah. Now, he killed his wife, but he was acquitted. That man just died last year. You ain't hear him say nothing about that.
Nobody called that the trial of the century. They didn't do any of that garbage they did with OJ. None of that.
Correct. So for the youngsters who think that we just, excuse the quote, TBA, some of these old niggas who just on the phone or on the line reminiscing, it's not, because it's still happening. And they got y'all convinced that, we in this utopia, and that was just a long time ago. They still doing it right now. They're doing it right now. So, as soon as OJ died, it wasn't just back then when it happened, but as soon as OJ died, all of the sport cable shows have been retrying the man. Instead of saying, hey, we're sorry to announce OJ died. No, they go right to that trial. They go right to the trial.
Because we never stop being on trial. White supremacy does not take an L. They do not take it. And if they do have to suffer one, they are going to spend the rest of the damn time trying to relitigate it, refight it, and every damn thing else. In our case, we told that was a long time ago, or, we haven't really put together a piece about Zimmerman. That'd be because you remember they talked about John Benet Ramsey for years. They stopped talking about Trayvon Martin right after that occurred. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a call, America 202. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from area code 202, you're on live. Our caller from area code 202 has been abducted. Caller from area code 415, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Don P. calling for San Francisco.
All right, Don, after San Francisco, what's on your mind?
Hey, Jason, I'm old as hell. So I lived through all this, man, and I appreciate the way that you structured your broadcast to give the background for people to understand the outrage. Because in all reality, OJ didn't really exist for us. He was gone a long time ago. He was already buffooning and, the rest of that with his movies and his Hertz commercials and all that. He was doing him, and he really made a foolish move that Denzel didn't make. And so he was just the one they were going to bring up. And all that foolishness, it showed itself out. I think that if the things that were going on in L.A. hadn't happened, they would have got him. They would have got him.
I mean, absolutely, because
agitated.
if Rodney King doesn't happen, then you don't have this back-to-back-to-back thing going on. So in other words, if they had not been so blatant and so racist, they probably could have got OJ. What they did, you make a very good point. They could have got OJ if they hadn't cashed in Rodney King. If you left Rodney alone, you probably would have had enough cachet at least to go ahead and slip by and get OJ. You can't just keep doing it on a regular basis in such a high-profile manner. So congratulations, you got Rodney, and you had to let OJ go. You had to let him off because
Jason,
you did that. Very good point. I'll let you have the last word.
You brilliantly weave this broadcast together so that people could actually get a look. Because how far are we removed?
30 years.
And you got these pundits coming out now talking about OJ this, OJ that. OJ didn't really mean all that to us, but they was trying to cash in. And I salute you for how you put this together so that people could actually see what the climate was like and the animosity of these people to try to resurrect themselves from the L's that they were taking. And B1, my brother.
B1, brother, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. I mean, that's what they do. When white supremacy takes an L, they sit up here and try to find somebody to resurrect, somebody else to lynch in your place. If they miss one, they try to find one, hopefully a bigger one. OJ was just the most convenient target that was available at that time. He was a target. He was convenient and capable. He checked all the boxes for white supremacy to say, okay, we're going to avenge ourselves of that L. He's a well-known nigger in sports, so we get to humble one of the super niggers from sports. We get to do that. He checks all the boxes. One of these Mandingo niggas from sports. He's been crawling all over our white women for years. So, I mean, he checked all the boxes. I mean, they were going to have barbecues, cookouts, family reunions. They were going to be making Oscar Mayer commercials about it. Remember where you were back when OJ was convicted? I ain't do it. The be lying on me. Remember family and friends in the backyard, little kids laughing? Yeah. Do you remember how that was there? So do we. In commemoration, we have the new Oscar Mayer OJ Wiener. Yes, sir. You can boil it, you can bake it, you can fry it, you can do it however you want to. Oscar Mayer. Caller Miracle 347, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller Miracle 347, you're on live.
Hello.
Caller from 347 is slow on the draw. Caller from area code 510, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Mike from Richmond, California.
Okay, brother, it sounds like you calling us from 2 soup cans. Try that one more time.
This is Mike from Richmond, California.
Okay, y'all. Mike from Richmond, what's on your mind?
Okay, I was thinking about the Keystone Cop slapstick thing that he did in Las Vegas. That ain't the same people that did the same thing in L.A. Hello?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, brother. I'm not really sure what he's talking about, y'all, but call from area code 952. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, this is Tracy from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
All right, Tracy from Minneapolis. What's on your mind?
Well, you guys have covered it. I love you. Marguerite was a real sister. I'm so proud of her. But I want to tell you something. I've been a nurse. I'm old school, too. I remember the trial day by day. I've been a nurse for 40 years. And unfortunately, Brother OJ died from Becky disease. And I want to let you know, brothers, Dr. Oz tried to tell you. Richard Pryor tried to tell you. Michael Douglas tried to tell you. They got cancer that's contagious. And if you stay with them, you're going to lose it one way or the other. She going to get you or her daddy going to get you. But you're going to lose those gonads, okay? And I want to tell the brother who said, sisters don't love you, baby, I love you. And I love you. The darker you are, the better. Because I love my dark berries, okay? And that's all I got to say, because you covered everything else. They set that man up. And that chick, you don't call no police on no man that you love 4, 5, 5, 6, 9 times. Bitch was crazy from the start. All she wanted was his money. She never loved him to begin with. Marguerite was pregnant when they met, and she knew it. She's an adulterous whore, and they didn't want the truth to come out in that trial. They didn't want it to come out. But OJ fell in that shit, and he had to walk in it. That's all.
Well said. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight here. Yeah, she said yes. If y'all misuse it, you're gonna lose it. If y'all misuse it, you're gonna lose it. Let me get caller from area code 347. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Caller from area code 347. You're on live.
Peace, Jason Black. This is Anthony from New York. Peace to the Black Channel experience. What I wanted to say is I got in late, but I want to make this point about Johnny Cochran. Because this is what I think is being missed. OJ, yes. What made OJ important is that he had the money to put up for this defense. And you probably need to thank the Kardashian, because I think he helped him put the people together. But when they build this as the trial of the century, see, they still mad from certain things that was taking place out there and from the LA riots. And so when you get a chance to lynch this black high-profile man now, they thought they had him left or right. And day in and day out, as we come in and we're watching this case, it ain't OJ. It's the performance of Johnny Cochran, beating them at thought, beating them in the courtroom at the highest level. And that impression in the minds of the people, both black and white, made an impact that they could not take. Johnny started to get death threats. I mean, serious death threats, to the point that he got security. Johnny was smart enough. He put the FOI around him, and even that caused a problem in the place. And he didn't put regular fruit from the local mosque. He put the people. The minister gave him his soldiers that be around him, and they didn't like that. Matter of fact, Fred Goldman commented on it frequently, and how he tried to make Johnny seem like he was a hater because he had the fruit of Islam around him. But all of that is part of it. And I'm on the standpoint of the timeline. I want to make another point, because from
okay, let's make it quickly, brother.
LA
here
riots,
we're short on time.
All right, I'm gonna do it quick. From the LA riots, you had a town hall meeting after the LA riots, and this government thought it important enough that they sent the CIA director there to South Central to be a part of it, Deutsch. And everybody remember it was on C-SPAN. And a white man by the name of Michael Rupert, who worked for Rampart, said that the CIA recruited him while he was an officer to sell drugs on the street of LA. And that was the talk for I don't know how long. And that's all that goes into this mix now, coming up into OJ and all of that. And we can never leave all of that out. Yes, Latasha has all that, but when we get definitive.
Okay. Thank you very much, brother. Here we're a little short on time here, folks. So we're going to wrap it up here. But I think we get your point. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get call from area code 786. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Ryder from New Orleans.
All right, Ryder from New Orleans. What's on your mind?
Just quick question. What is your what is your explanation for the O.J. Simpson's bloody finger? I don't know if you addressed that in the program, but I know at one point
OJ said that he cut himself hitting a mirror in frustration when he found out his wife was killed. So that's what OJ said.
Right, but do you remember him changing his story later on about that?
I don't remember anything about change. I don't remember anything about changing the story about that. What I do know is that nobody proved any other explanation.
Well, let me just add this. I'll land my plane.
And furthermore, it's not up to OJ to prove it. It's up to the prosecution to prove that, because you are innocent until proven guilty. So if he says that's the story, then the onus is on them to disprove it, not for him to prove it.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right, you know what? I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, folks, I should have been a lawyer. But if you're innocent until proven guilty, okay, you get to make your statement. It's on the prosecution now to prove that that's not true. After all, that's why they're given so many resources. So if your story does not line up, you're supposed to be on the stand looking like Mark Ferman. By the way, if your version of the events doesn't line up or isn't correct, well, that's okay, because these are career prosecutors. Their job is to get you on the stand, and you're supposed to be looking like Mark Ferman. But no, once you make a statement, that's it. Okay, it's up to them to prove that statement is false. Mark Ferman, I ain't never planned no evidence. Okay, it's on y'all to prove it's false. They sure did. Caller Area Code 504, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is G from New Orleans.
G from New Orleans, what's on your mind?
All right, brother. Great broadcast. I'll be brief because I know you're short on time. I want to make this point. It's very important. The phone records regarding Nicole Brown Simpson, supposedly Juditha Brown, Nicole Brown Simpson's own mother, stated to the officials and to Robert Shapiro that the last time they spoke to their daughter on the night she was murdered was at 11 o'clock. And the importance of that is that if it was at 11 o'clock, O.J. Simpson was already on his way to Chicago. He could not have committed this crime. She was not allowed to testify. They actually tried to keep her out. Marsha Clark and I believe it was Robert Shapiro, they had, or someone in O.J.'s defense team, they had stipulated to a different time frame to push it up earlier than what was expected, because if there's a stipulation as to the time of it, that was what was agreed to. The jury had to go through that. If there were phone records, and those phone records have never been released to O.J., and his lawyers, even in the civil trial, have been trying to get that, and the phone record company, I believe GTE, they will never turn those over to them. It would have proven, without a shadow of a doubt, that he had an ironclad alibi. He didn't do this. And the bottom line is, a man could not have killed two people that quickly in that state of a rush. And you can read all of that in the book Double Cross for Blood by Dr. Henry Johnson, because he even explained that O.J. was that the killer. There were at least two killers that were involved, and that this was even verified from the deputy medical examiner, Erwin Goldwyn. He was not allowed to testify at the trial. He testified at the preliminary hearing. And I just wanted to give that information to you all before you got off, brother.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 469. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Abby. Can you hear me?
Okay, we try that again.
Abby.
Okay, Abby, where are you calling from?
I can't say. I have in the beginning, I wrote letters to Shapiro before Cochran came on.
Okay, let me try this one more time, Abby. Where are you calling from, Abby?
Texas.
Okay, Abby, Texas is a huge piece of geography. Where in Texas we calling from?
Okay, can I tell you the story, and then I'll tell you where I'm calling from? Because I can't.
All right, y'all. Abby is in the witness protection program. So we wouldn't want Abby to get herself in trouble. So we're going to make sure that Abby does not get herself in any type of difficulty or anything like that. So Abby is in the witness protection program right now. So we wouldn't want to disturb that. She got John Gotti and the crew looking for her because she's a very important person, don't you know? She's a very important person. So for all the very important people, I wouldn't want them to get themselves in a bind. So Abby, I hope it works out for you. No Country for Old Women. No Country for... Here comes Anton Chigurh, No Country for Old Women. Folks, the takeaway from tonight's program is that those... Understand something. You got a whole bunch of folks who fancy themselves news nerds and every damn thing else, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that time has moved on, and we done gotten older, man. We done lost Carl Lewis. We done lost O.J. Simpson. We can go down the damn list. A bunch of folks who you were watching when you were a kid growing up, and they gone. They're gone. So history gets rewritten when folks think that all the folks who lived it done either died or don't remember what happened or won't speak on it. And that's why it is critical that we speak on this. I brought you all through all of this right here, all the facts and events. Megyn Kelly didn't tell you about Kato Kaelin on Mad TV. And if we didn't have YouTube, I wouldn't be able to prove it to you. I would know it And a lot of you might remember it, but I couldn't show it to you so we can prove it to you. Kato Kalin did that. Megyn Kelly mentioned him, but didn't mention what he did. And Megyn Kelly knew who the hell Mark Ferman was. That was what broke the damn case. And curiously enough, they don't say a damn word about him. Not a word about him. In the chat room, not Carl Lewis, Carl Weathers. I'm about to have a whole bunch of folks in here panicking. Not Carl Lewis, Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers. I'm about to have a whole bunch of folks. Carl Lewis is dead? Damn! Not Carl! Take OJ, not Carl, though. Don't take Carl Lewis, take OJ. All right, it's Carl Weathers, not Carl Lewis. Thank you. Louis Gossett Jr., Carl Weathers, OJ. Carl Lewis is still alive, so it's all right. Back on subject here. Folks, if you didn't have us to sit here and explain it to you and to go back over this, there's a bunch of folks here. Y'all got to understand, these young folk, they don't remember any of this. They're getting all their information from what? A&E Biography, Investigation Discovery, CNN, Fox. So they're getting it 30 years later from a bunch of outlets that are diametrically biased against them, rewriting the history, chopping out all the important parts and telling you OJ, quote, got away with it. And then when we show you Mark Ferman, they tell you, oh, that don't really matter. White supremacy is built on lying, looking you dead in the face and lying to you. That's what it's built on. And if we don't perform our job as the people who live through it, if we don't document this, and yes, if we don't go through the process of remembering the names and remembering the pertinent information, somebody else from some big establishment is going to come along and rewrite all of this for us. And when they get done, it'll be, don't you know you niggas got away with it. It won't be that we were innocent. It's you got away with it. Now, George Zimmerman was innocent. Kyle Rittenhouse is innocent. You're not innocent. You got away with it. Nate Parker, you weren't innocent. You got away with it. That's why we have to be our own historians. We have to be our own historians, and we must speak out on this, and we must be accurate. We can't just say crazy things and pull them out of our ears. We must be our own historians, and we must be accurate. The O.J. Simpson case is a critical, pivotal example of it. And they're not done yet. O.J. was a huge L, and they're not done yet. They're going to be smarting over that one forever. Now they will be seeking out the next one. And they're going to keep going till they get one they can lynch properly. You've been forewarned. But in a system of white supremacy, there is no justice. A black man can never be innocent enough. When you are that, because it's not about innocence, it's about power. It is about having the ability to point the finger at you and say that you are guilty, and we have the ability to punish you, torment you, penalize you, whether you did it or not. It's about having the power to say, penalize that nigga, and we do it. That's what it's about. You can never be innocent because you can never stop being black. Your O.J. Simpson's crime wasn't murder. O.J. Simpson's crime was blackness. What it always is. And what it always will be. So no, O.J., turns out you were really black after all. Amazing. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we are here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified, Race War, 8 a.m., soon to come. Available on DVD and streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I hope that this has been an enlightening, informative conversation for you all here tonight. Shout out to my man, Mr. Victor.
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time. I told you today I'm still the greatest of all time.
Thank you all very much to everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Thank you all very much for joining us here. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future and the